This is the Crystal Chronicles, your JdotA Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Kriese, Mino, and Mark, bringing you all your Defo news and talk. Welcome to Season 3, the Chaos Era. Now let's start the show.
光あれ覚悟 Yep, 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 yep. Two, 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 two. Yep, 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 yep.
打ち切れましたわ。
Welcome everyone to episode 110 of the Crystal Chronicles, your JdotA Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, recorded on this July 9th, 2020. Now, a little bit different of an intro this evening. As you know, I am your host, Mark, and I am the Crystal Chronicles, and every once in a while, of course I love my co-host Kriese and Mino, but every once in a while there is that fear that one of your co-hosts will become more loved than you, the creator and founder of such media, and so you have to kind of fan out and make sure that you have your bases covered if you ever need to throw them off the show because your fan base likes them more than they like you. So tonight we have some special guests, and these are special guests I feel like could replace Mino in Kriese, and I just want to talk a little bit about that. So we got Kriese, who, of course, to replace Kriese, we need someone who's kind of your straight man, someone who's a great play-by-play commentator, someone who has an analytical mind, and someone who will fervently argue with Mino just on principle. And for Mino, if we need to replace him, you need someone who's charming, charismatic, who, who just people generally like. Ideally, someone who, isn't a white man. And, someone who really likes alcohol. You might call him a booze hound or a drunkard. I mean, depending on your definition. I don't want to, shame anybody. And so I have two great guests today to fill these roles. The first, you may know him. His name is Inkwelder. And the second is Resphoina. Well, and I guess Mino showed up too, so it's a little embarrassing. But so Mino, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I thought you're supposed to do Rez. So Rez is my replacement, right? So, but Rez. So okay, look, you guys understand your roles here, right? We're in training mode right now. Rez, you have to be very drunk and very angry today. Seriously, when you give your opinions, just be as mean as fucking possible. I'm serious. I'll be
I have
watching.
too high a tolerance. I don't know how to do that.
Well, drink faster. That always works. And actually, I don't know what Kriese do what Kriese does. I guess. And I'll have a new role, guys. I'm not going to be the heel today because Rez is filling in for me. I'm going to be the new role on the podcast, newbie correspondent. After last week, we talked about how we get a lot of criticism about how we skew towards veterans too much. And I've gotten a lot of feedback since. Apparently, people are even intimidated by our Discord because they say it's too professional and too many elites in one circle, whatever the hell.
I'm intimidated by your Discord.
It's so ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Why?
So now there's a new role. While Rez takes over mine, I'm going to be the one reaching the newbie audience, and I've prepared a lot for this. Actually, I was thinking about when we go into LDBT, maybe season 4, Mark. But for right now, moving forward, I plan to talk about how easy characters are to use as well when we're covering starting this episode. But and a lot more too as we go on, because when LDB that's a whole nother episode. But yes,
we're still in the introduction, so that was Mino Spellgood. Kriese is taking the night off. He is fine, and will be back with us next week, assuming my move goes well and everything's up and running smoothly on the internet front. But we are joined by two special guests, and you know him and love him. He is the Tonberry King from the Tonberry Troupe, tonberrytroupe.com, and you can check him out on YouTube. Search Inkwelder on YouTube or Inkwelder Defo, and he is Inkwelder or Ink. Ink, how are you doing this evening?
I have my whiskey. I will be analytically covering some complex kits. I'm excited to be here.
Kriese is actually with us in spirit and in chat, but taking the week off from analytical stuff, yes. But he may jump in. We are also
every time I speak, Kriese is going to rate me from 1 to 10 as to how close to Kriese it was.
We are also joined by friend and fellow Defo content creator, my favorite emotional pull content creator. Off of a beautiful, she has done some collabs. There's another YouTube creator who does Final Fantasy music called Jeff Plays Guitar, and Resphoina, who is our guest today as well, has done a beautiful Final Fantasy VI medley with Jeff Plays Guitar that's on his YouTube and her YouTube. She does a little behind the scenes on your YouTube. Just beautiful, awesome stuff. We have some wonderful musical talent in the Defo community. Of course, Ryan is the bomb on YouTube, does our intro music. And so very excited. You can look forward to my clarinet versions of Final. No, that's not going to happen. But Resphoina, welcome. And how are you this evening?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm all right. I've got my whiskey here as well. So ready to get this drinking contest going.
Yes, we are all drinking whiskey tonight. I don't know what Mino's probably drinking, some hipster beer. I don't know what he's drinking. He's probably drinking like wine coolers. He's got some Zima from the 90s. I like probably the only person who knows what Zima is. But yeah, so the rest of us are drinking whiskey. I don't know what Mino's drinking tonight, but we are so excited to be here. And so let's get to the news of the day. I'm trying to do timestamps as we're doing this, so this is going to be interesting. News of the day is what? Well, we were hoping for maybe a little bit of an update on what's going to be coming here in about 45 minutes, but we did not get that yet. So we'll just keep you up to date on that. It would help if I actually had my outline open, wouldn't it? This is going real good already. So we're going to be showing during this, once I get the outline up. I had my very minute outline up. There we go. There were several bug fixes. That's what I was talking about. We also have 2 costumes available, and I was told by Square Enix Joshua that we need to sell the costume. So make sure that you buy Kane's costume, King Piccolo costume, and the gem bundle. That is, we guess we didn't talk about it, but Mino and I bought that costume. I think it's great. I love that. Hobo Kane, Mino calls it. I call it King Piccolo. And Garnet's costume, which is just her with a cloak. I also bought that one because I'm a sucker. So that's rerunning as well. So there are some minor bug fixes. You can check that out in game. Last week, we did introduce you to the Aphmau All LC TCC Challenge. And for that, we banned Arciela, Kais, Kefka, Cloud of Darkness, Alphanau, Snow, Zac, Ramza, Lightning, Aarolei, Friend Aarolei, Lion, Aphmau, and Preesh for the Extreme Challenge, which was terrible. I blame Macnol for this. Of course, all of the TCC challenges are in collaborations with DecidiaInfo.com, for our friend Macnol, and the Call to Arms. The special requirement for the TCC Extreme Challenge was to not kill the death machines. You had to keep the PUDs alive. Now, in the infographic I'm showing you now, it says keep them always alive, and then you couldn't win, so you did have to kill them. Hey, Broadway saying thank you for this subscription. There were so many people subscribed right before. Thank you all for the subscription, and thank you for supporting us and the TCC. Broadway, thank you for the gifted subs. Really appreciate that, man. Check out Broadway saying. We try to shout him out every week too. One of our good friends and fellow Defo content creators. He is on Twitch and YouTube and Twitter, and I love his cooking shows the most. That has nothing to do with Defo, but he's been doing some cooking shows, and Aarolei and myself from the Crystal Chronicles circle believe that is great content. So check out Broadway. And all of our other content creator friends. So here are the winners of the TCC Challenge. I did put this screen, if you're listening at home, I did put this on Twitter, on Facebook, and in our Discord under the podcast announcements. So lots of winners from both challenges. I don't think any of us who are live tonight did either one of these. So we can't really comment on it, but it seemed like it sucked. So, thank you, Broadway, for keeping Squex Joshua sub to our channel. That way he can't sneak in. Thank you, Raw Life. Oh, thank you so much. There's so many of you. I know Hate 13 and Raw Life and Princess Lady and Illuminasa. And there's a few others. Shout out for subs right before the show. Appreciate that. And Resphoina as well. But she's here. So that is the winners. Thank you all for playing. We will talk about, it's already been announced, but we will talk about the Eald'narche event TCC challenge here in a minute. So let's transition from the news of the day and the TCC challenge from last week to this new event, which is the Eald'narche event, Ghosts of the Past. I really need like 6 people trying to do everything that I'm doing on the production side. So I'm looking forward to someone else talking for a while. So this event brought us a brand new character. His name is Eald'narche, or Nacho, or whatever you want to call him, and can't pronounce it because none of us knew what these things were called if you played Final Fantasy XI, because they didn't speak. So yeah. So you can call them whatever you want. But more importantly, in my heart, in my opinion, we got Garnet's rework, her EX realization, and with a beautiful animation update as well. So I believe Inkwelder is going to bring us through these character kits. So Ink, would you be willing to walk us through Garnet's rework and EX realization?
I would love to. So I'll do my best Kriese impression, I guess. But all right, so Garnet got a rework and an EX Plus realization. Her roles that she covers for your team, I'm going to start with that because that's the most important part, right? So she's giving your team auras. She's got battery. She's a burst healer. She enchant and imperils your team with 2 different elements. And she is a magic support attacker. So in terms of what changed, both of her skills that have very long names, I'm going to say them once and then never again. Aquamarine Water Glint and Peridot Thunder Flash, I think. They both got Brave gains based on attack. They both got Brave hits added to their AoE shave. And they do split HP damage with more overflow. Skill 1, batteries on the skill usage. Batteries allies 50%. Water stance in general, the Brave Plus now batteries the party. The HP Plus got brought up to spec. Up to spec is 2 Brave hits with 120% overflow. Everyone has that for the most part. But notably, it batteries allies with her character board 60% of HP damage dealt, which is the highest in the game. You can't beat that. Thunder stance, the Brave Plus got updated so that it actually dumps HP. It's AoE Brave hits into a single target HP attack, and it gives her Brave gain a refund on afterward so that she can potentially avoid getting broken afterward. Her HP Plus got more hit, another hit, and splash damage. Her frame buffs got improvements for her stats, stat boosts, the frame buffs for each of her stances that sit on her. And she has party auras that I'll get into momentarily. So EX realization time, it is loaded, probably the most we've ever seen. At 0, she gets more battery to the party when she uses her EX, a 90% HP heal, and she gets some attack and max Brave stats for herself. EX at 1 out of 3 is a party aura for attack and max Brave. I'm going to do the auras at the end, so I'm not going to give detail on that. Her level 2 and level 3 are so ridiculously loaded that I'm combining them by when you would see them in battle. So combined EX 2 and 3, she at the start of battle is going to buff all of her allies with her Holy Prayer buff, which is a thunder and water enchant. She's going to get a free instant turn at the start, as well as a free skill use. You generally are going to use Aquamarine Water Glint because that buffs Brave Region on your entire party. Those are her only 2 buffs to the party, is her framed buff for enchant and the Brave Region. When she's using her EX, it also is a free and instant turn. It imperils all enemies with 4 turns of water and thunder resist down so that it doesn't just come from her abilities. She gets a new buff called Holy Guardian, which is a 1-turn buff with just a huge overflow boost for damage that she deals. And this ties in nicely with her free skill use that she gets whenever she uses her EX. So that free skill will overflow like crazy. She gets a recast up on it. So her recast, and this is the recharge, not the initial charge. Recharge is 2 skills and 2 HP pluses. Just roughly, you usually want to use the one for free that you want to sit in and use for the most part, whichever one is more catered to her stance. And then 2 braver HP plus, and then to recharge her EX, you can use the stance that she doesn't need as much for your team comp. She also gets Last Stand because everything I just said for 2 limit breaks on a weapon was not enough. So she can tank fatal HP hits if she's above 50% HP. If you max her, you get a wonderful C Sphere. I consider it the best in the game. It is the only C Sphere which provides an attack boost, attack plus 10% for 6 turns when you get healed. And it's the only attacking C Sphere whatsoever, so it's great on offensive supports. C Spheres normally just provide battery, so it's a pretty noticeably great effect. Her auras. So she's got great auras. Just to cover them very briefly, Max Brave plus 75%, Brave Region plus 125%, regardless of which stance she's in. Her water stance is more support and battery oriented. And so it has an iBrave plus 55% to help power that Brave region, whereas her Thunder stance only has iBrave plus 10%. However, Thunder stance has more attack at plus 75%, whereas Water only has 40% attack. So based on based on your team comp and what the boss is doing, you're probably going to want to switch stances potentially. Her artifacts, she needs 3x108. That's what she needs minimum to function. Her best secondary is her last wave boost, which is Princess's Resolve, because it buffs all of her stats, most importantly attack, and you really want her dealing as much damage. And she has Brave gains based on attack. There's so many reasons why you want to increase her attack more than her Max Brave. Max Brave is a great secondary as well, but I prefer the Princess Resolve myself. So with that, I am done covering the overview of Garnet. So I will pass it off to Rez to give her thoughts.
Thank you very much. That was a lovely overview. That can also, I use the Tonberry Troupe infographics for pretty much everything at this point. And
Rez, what are you doing? I thought we
What?
went over this. You're
No,
supposed
I
to
don't
be the
wanna be
heel.
mean.
You're
I don't
taking
wanna
over
be
my
mean.
role. This is literally the opposite.
Okay, all right,
of what you're
okay.
expected to do.
I'll say this. I prefer Garnet to Dagger as a name. That is what I'll say.
I agree.
And I prefer her short hair and her white mage costume. That is how divisive I'll be.
I agree with all those things. Excellent point.
Go ahead.
How old
Okay.
were
Just
you?
say the opposite.
How old were you when you found out that Peridot and Aquamarine and Garnet were all birthstones? Because I was this many years old today.
Oh, I was obsessed with birthstones when I was a kid. I still know all the birthstones by heart. I learned them when I was like 6 or something from like an American Girl doll handbook, something like that. So I've known the birthstones since then. But I didn't put
learned them
two
from
and
a
two
video
together
game.
until now.
Yes, Rez shared in chat that yes, all those are birthstones, and I didn't even think about that until you just mentioned. And somebody said all of the summon, all of the summon stones in Final Fantasy IX were birthstones. So I don't recall that.
I definitely didn't.
But please continue, Rez.
So I loved Garnet on this banner mainly because I already had her EX, and so she was just very nice to me on this banner. And I actually did the Eald'narche Chaos, whatever. I used Garnet and Aphmau after finally getting her in my shameful part 2 video. I ended up using the 2 of them with Terra. And I found that it was a really fun team. And with Garnet's battery, it actually worked really well for Tara because she was able to hit like 70k with every HP plus. So I had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun using Garnet in a couple different chaos fights, like even outside of synergy. I prefer her water defensive stance. The battery that it gives is just absolutely insane. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what like mean the thing I can say. Mino, maybe you can chime in and like, take over that mean part. But yeah, I've really been enjoying using her. I don't know how much more I can say. I'm probably not being very helpful right now, but she is very fun for characters that might be a little bit outdated in terms of brave damage, especially with like the Imperil. I mean, Tara was hitting 9s for everything, which was really, really nice to see since her brave potency isn't great. So I really like Garnet. I think she does a lot as her kind of support mini DPS, I'd say. But yeah, that's my hot take on Garnet.
All right. I guess I gotta be extra mean today because there's more co-hosts today, and they're all being pretty positive. So let me take an extra swig right real quick.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. So I don't. You guys aren't listing any of the downsides of Garnet. You guys are such.
It wasn't my responsibility to yet.
I felt bad.
Okay. First of all, this is a very legitimate. I'll start with the bad. I'll work my way to the good. But this is a legitimate problem. I think Ink disagreed with me earlier, but there were concerns about Garnet's healing ability being a main healer in the party. She does have that strong burst heal, and it can, if you play smart, it can keep your party up. But I don't think it's a very reliable heal. It's definitely a slow heal. It's what, 3.5 skills for recharge, Ink?
2 skills, 2 HP plus, or 3 skills.
Yeah.
Right. So, about 3 to 4 Garnet turns for that heal to be up. Sometimes that is not enough with how frequently some of these fights spam HP attacks, I would say, if you want to talk about a primary healer. That being said, she is the only enchanter with the burst heal right now. So that is a very good thing to have. When it comes to enchanters as well, especially in this late chaos era right before LDBT, I think that she has the most flexibility because she hits 2 elements, right? Water and lightning. So if one is resisted, the other might be able to get through. I'm sure it's very rare a fight absorbs both, if that even exists. So in terms of getting in a healer slot and pure enchant imperil, I think she's probably arguably the strongest in this batch for beginner players, because I do think the ones coming up, well, first of all, Fujin for launch teams, not as strong as a pure Enchanter Imperiler, stronger in certain team comps. And then the ones coming up, we've got Raijin and Desh, who...
Rydia. Everyone forgets about Rydia.
Rydia is an enchanter and
payloader.
payloader.
Okay, fine. So she's better than Rydia. But if we're talking about pure, if the only thing you want is enchant imperil to hit weakness and override types, Raijin with more skillful play has more utility. He has the region heals and the AoE paralyzes almost reliably. And Desh is pure power because he has the enchant imperil plus increased elemental weakness damage. So those are all the niches. But when it comes to Garnet, you got the burst heals and you have the versatility of the 2 elements. So I think that's where she stands out for sure. In terms of power of her kit, I think we're comparing to the other Enchanter Imperiler. She does her job very well, but she won't pack the pure power that, again, Raijin, Desh, and possibly Fujin bring as well. All of this to say, though, she is the easiest Enchanter Imperiler to use by far. Okay, I've spent this whole last week, this month's been great for watching new streamers play, and you can't mess up with Garnet. Like, even if you don't maximize the buff durations and you're just switching between the stances, she's just strong. She does what she needs to do, right? You go into water stance for the regens. lightning stance for the dumps and pure AoE power. But when it comes to moving further on, her brave shaving will probably be weaker among all the enchanter imperilers. And the regions are nice, and you can build around that with int brave teams and stuff. But her numbers are probably the first to fall off if, again, you're using enchanter imperiler purely to hit weakness and do more damage. And again, I will top off to say that she's just probably the easiest to use, and that is a big plus for sure, because the next character we're talking about, I do not know if I can recommend universally. Mark, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, I've been playing Garnet, Eald'narche, and Aphmau on stream. Didn't, unfortunately, just a little slither of health there on the Chaos Battle as I started when Ink started to play or started to talk. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, comparing her to the other Enchant Imperilers, just straight up, she does more than Rydia. She does more than Lulu. She does a little bit more than Fujin, but I mean, Fujin I think is very specialized for launches. Yeah, I think comparing her to Raijin is fair. Now I haven't had time to use Raijin. Garnet is one of my favorite characters. So is Lulu, and that's why I have them both. And the one thing, the one thing that stands out Garnet has over everybody is Alexander Summon. So I mean, there's just nothing better. So what stone was that? Anybody in chat know what stone was for Alexander? I don't remember. But anyway, that animation alone is worth pulling her EX. It is so beautiful and wonderful, and is one of my favorite scenes in all Final Fantasy history and franchise period. So, yeah, I mean, I pulled Garnet's EX back during her Lost chapter, I guess. I enjoy her. You know, she has the Enchant Imperil for Thunder and Water. She has that great burst healing, good battery. I think with the rework, a lot of her kit gets fixed, so she has that longevity. She gets the free skills. Her EX charges okay. There are some fights, like has been mentioned, that, yeah, you're going to need another healer or some HP regen. But there are some fights, if you're bringing enough damage right now, you're not going to need that. I'm kind of going back and forth in terms of Dimensions N13. You might be able, with enough power, to just have her as your solo healer. Definitely, if you bring Keis, you can probably do that. But I'm not sure I want to burn him on 13. So she's not the best character. I think, in terms of just raw supports, Aphmau is pretty bonkers broken, right? But Aphmau doesn't enchant Imperil. So I think in terms of enchant Imperilers in this time period, she's definitely on top, depending on what you need.
Is she the first? Oh, sorry. Keep going.
No, please.
Go ahead,
Is she the first what?
Is she the first one that can infinitely enchant and imperil, since she gets that free skill usage after her EX? Because that was always my big gripe with Lulu, is that she can't infinitely imperil. She can infinitely enchant. Onion Knight can infinitely imperil, but he can't infinitely enchant his party members.
Right.
But I know Garnet, she Holy Prayer infinitely enchants. And then with her free skill usage after, is she the only one that can, I guess, infinitely do that?
Can do it right now, and the ones coming in the future can as well.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so we have Desh, Raijin, of course, and then Rydia, and then Desh coming up in early LDBT era. Desh can probably do it. I don't know about Rydia or Raijin. So this is a great opportunity to transition back to Inkwelder for his thoughts on Garnet, and maybe he knows a little bit doing some work for the people are worried about the games under maintenance, so people are worried about me not getting credit for the fight. I already beat this chaos, so don't worry about it. Thank you, though. I appreciate everyone's concern. But yeah, Ink. Go ahead, Mino.
Sorry, Kriese is saying in chat an important point. Garnet can infinitely enchant, but her imperils are 4 turns in duration, so she can potentially lose them to fast bosses or marathon fights. Also, I'm really glad that everyone in chat is fighting about Enchanter Imperilers. That way they don't attack me. But yeah, Ink, follow-up thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree with you on the burst heal. I think pairing her with someone that has HP regen when you need it is pretty nice just to complement her and top people off when needed. And she'll be able to save potentially if you know a big attack is coming, you can save her burst heal. It's worth noting that unlike Fujin, she doesn't enchant on herself like her own aura. So she gives Holy Prayer to her allies. So really fast characters, let's say her Bannermate, can, if you're not paying attention, can run through her enchant pretty fast with free turns. So they can run through that 10 turn. And again, she's got a slow enough EX that if you're sitting back and being conservative potentially, you're not going to be able to enchant them. So you have to be careful of that. But, in general, I love Garnet's kit because she has such a low setup cost. And I think that's why she's so good for new players, agreeing with Mino. I don't know what's going on. I'm definitely not doing a good Kriese right now, but she...
Hey, Rez, tear up a new one. Insult him. Tell him, rate his performance right now.
Well,
I'm not lit enough for that.
She just has a low setup cost because she can perform without needing specific things from her allies. You don't have to bring anybody technically to make her do what she needs to do. So you don't need to complement her roles necessarily. She certainly can function as a solo support given her attack aura and the enchant imperil. And also I'll say, as someone that has run Sabin through every chaos since his release, the fact that she has the 2 elements is great, because even if she's going up against Thunder, the fact that her EX drops both debuffs means that she can get by without even batterying the enemy. So a lot of times your first hit will battery the enemy because they absorb, let's say, Thunder. But in this case, you can sort of spam skill 1, her water stance, get by on her HP plus until her EX is up, use her EX, imperil Thunder, and now she can use her skill 2 just to help charge her EX without batterying the enemy. It'll just nullify damage. So it's very useful so that you don't have to worry about, I have to use this skill for whatever reason. It's much cleaner when you can imperil both elements at one time.
Yoshi Pass. Go ahead, Russ.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say something that I noticed when I was using her for fun is that in multi-wave fights, I kept forgetting that while the enchant is applied automatically from the start, the enemies aren't imperiled from the start. So there would be some fights that I had where I was like going through hard mode for chapter 4 since I still hadn't even done normal mode. And there were some fights that were resistant to magic, and I totally forgot. And Garnet ended up being the 3rd character to go, and everybody was hitting resistance because the imperil wasn't on yet. So that is something I know. There was like another layer there, but I can't remember what I was saying. But it's something that I noticed, that the enchant will usually be up before the imperil is.
Right, and also I believe, even to this day in JP, she's the only person ever in the game to party enchant water, correct?
Rydia.
Does Rydia not?
Who?
Well, let's.
She doesn't exist. She's been swallowed by a water dragon. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but yeah, I think these are all good thoughts, Mark. Unless you want to finish it off.
I think we can transition to our next character, who is the banner character, and that would be Eald'narche. So let's Ink walk us through what Eald'narche gets.
Okay, so I'm going to handle this differently because reading through abilities is really boring. So I'm going to just sort of cover how you play Eald'narche, and that will explain his kit to people because it's very complicated. So Eald'narche is a ranged attacker debuffer with utility. So those are the roles that he covers for you. That utility being a bit like paralysis. So main thing to Eald'narche is that he starts the battle with a special effect called exoplates. They're the little discs that circle around him. They act like a shield. They give him 50% reduction to incoming brave and HP damage, as well as 100% debuff evasion. While exoplates are up, you are going to be spamming his skill 2, Uranos Cascade. You've got 7 uses of it. It does single target brave hits into splash HP damage. It debuffs all enemies with 40% attack down. Again, sort of leaning on the defensive side of this. It also gives him his mold, cunning buff. And that is the only buff in his whole kit, is that framed buff, which gives him attack and max brave. You're going to use Uranos Cascade 4 times to charge up his EX, which is called Vortex. It is AoE brave hits into 100% HP damage. And if you want to recharge that, you are going to need to use Uranos Cascade another 3 times, which is perfect because he has 7 uses of it. When you're ready, you will use skill 1, which is called Phase Shift. You have 1 use of it. Regardless of what it says in game, you have 1 use of it. And Phase Shift is also AoE brave hits into 100% HP damage. And notably, it dispels exoplates. Once they are gone for the entire fight. The other way to dispel the exoplates is to die. So if Eald'narche takes a fatal hit, he will survive and exoplates will get dispelled. When these plates get dispelled, you are going to first heal back up to full. And that happens even if you use skill 1, he'll still heal himself up to full. He will refresh all uses of his skill 2 Uranos Cascade. So you will get all of those back. You do not get back anything else though. That's the only skill that you get back. And all of his skills change to more offensive versions of themselves. So his new skill 1 becomes Stellar Burst. It's AoE brave hits into split HP damage. It is his primary way of shaving 2 targets when you need to. That's what you use it for. It does debuff 20% speed down, but that's 20% speed down. There are a lot of characters that debuff more than that. His skill 2 is Omega Javelin. Omega Javelin also gives him Mulled Cunning, his framed buff. It debuffs all its single target brave into splash HP damage. He debuffs all enemies 40% defense down. And the first part of his utility, which is a frame debuff called Warp. Warp is very similar to Realm's Sketch debuff. Basically, as soon as an enemy takes their turn, right after their turn, Eald'narche will jump up and take a free turn, which is, this is sort of like, you could compare it to like a trap-like effect. If you'd like, it's quite useful. And you're generally going to use this skill to maintain the Warp debuff. Warp also has a 30% defense down packaged into it as well. So total, Eald'narche is giving your team a 70% down debuff contribution. His EX with exoplates down becomes Vortex Plus. It basically gets more overflow. It also gets an HP damage modifier up that's similar to like JdotA, but it's just for that attack for him. So he deals a lot more AoE 100% damage on his EX, and it does the other part of his utility, which is it inflicts on all enemies 2 turns of terror. So terror acts like a faux paralysis. Essentially, if an enemy is targeting Eald'narche or all of your entire party, they will not be able to take their turn. They're too afraid because he took his eye patch off. He's terrifying. So they can't take their turn. So, and they will not change their target. So they will stay locked there. And what's nice about this is, one, he can lock them out. While they're locked out, while terror is on the enemies, Eald'narche deals 20% additional HP damage to them. So he can really deal quite a bit more damage with that modifier from his terror debuff. Honored that you called me Kriese, by the way.
Sorry, Ink.
But I will start with, I'll pick back up at Vortex Plus. So with exoplates down, you are going to basically get additional overflow on his attack, which is great because it's 100% AoE damage. And it has an HP damage up modifier as well. So that thing is usually hitting very hard. The plus version inflicts 2 turns of terror, and terror is his other form of utility, and it is extremely powerful. because when an enemy is targeting Eald'narche or they are targeting your entire party, terror will prevent them from taking an action because they are so scared of Eald'narche with his eye patch off. That is actually a negative against him because of how creepy he is with that eye patch off. But terror also increases Eald'narche's damage to those enemies by 20% while the debuff is on there. So it means that he can sit back and pummel enemies, and they will get locked if they are targeting all or they're targeting him. They don't change their target. And this effect works especially well with his AA, which has a ridiculous name. I'm not even going to look it up. It's like Brave Throw Longer something. And the AA, not only does it boost his attack and such, but for 4 turns, any debuffs that he inflicts following that will get extended by 2 turns, which means that he can inflict 4 turns of terror or 4 turns of warp, which is obviously quite strong if you can lock a boss in its paces for 4 turns. When you get to his realization, I'm just going to cover sort of the notable points of this. He from his 0-3 he gets Brave ++ and HP ++, and they are pretty vanilla. They're just single target Brave and HP attacks. However, they extend his framed buff Mulled Cunning for a turn, and that means that it absolutely doesn't hurt him at all to sit back and spam HP ++ on all those free turns he's getting from jumping in with warp, which is really helpful. But he will burn through his allies' buffs. He does not extend those. From 2-3, he's going to start with his Mulled Cunning buff, so he's ready to go. But more notably, and this is why earlier before I said when you're ready, use his skill 1 phase shift, is because when Exoplates gets dispelled from his 2-3, he will inflict on all enemies 2 turns of terror. So it allows you to control when you want to inflict terror. You don't have to time, oh, is my EX charged when I drop Exoplate? You don't have to worry about it. You can use skill 1 and it will inflict terror on all enemies. And if you so choose, you could use his AA first. I think the AA is nice for that to help him charge his EX back up again. And his 3-3 gets more brave hits, more overflow, practically certifying that he will always deal max damage to all enemies. Basically 100,000 damage AoE whenever you press his EX. If you max him out, you will get his sphere, which is an E sphere. It is basically max brave plus 15%, but it steps up in effectiveness for each debuff. So once you've inflicted 5 debuffs, it tops off at max brave plus 15%. His artifacts, at minimum, he's doing a lot of hits all the time, 3x108. It's very typical for a lot of characters, obviously, but it is important to them. As for secondary, if you are lucky enough, you can get Phantom of the Distant Past boost, which gives him an attack and max brave buff or boost of 5% after Exoplates gets dispelled, which is great because that is when you are generally facing a boss. And max brave 330 is certainly fine for him as another option. There aren't really any other good secondaries, but that 108 Phantom is certainly his best. With that, I will pass it off. I know that Rez loves Eald'narche and has so much to say about him, so I'm going to let her take over now.
Yes, love Eald'narche, however you pronounce it. I didn't even get his 35, much less his EX. So all I can say is that he has a really creepy void behind his eye patch. But no, I talked to a couple of people that have enjoyed using him, and basically what I know is that if you play him right, you can basically make it so that the boss never gets a turn. That is unfortunately all I have to offer on the character since I didn't get any of his kit. Any of his gear, I mean. So I'll pass it to Mino to say. I wish I knew so that I could actually say some stuff because I don't say some mean stuff because I don't actually have any connection to the character. But
I mean, that should
I'll
make
leave
it
that
easier, right? To say mean stuff because you have no connection to the character.
He looks weird. I don't know. Like, I mean, his brother's bangs are already just like the weirdest bangs that I've ever seen. I will never get over Ink's description of him of an overpaid bouncer. I will use that description Ink did about Camlanot, and I will use that description until the day I die.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's quality content. All right. So Eld, is one of my favorites. I'm way too excited about him. I'm super biased for him, and that's why I did it. That's why I did this off stream. I did this whole long off stream doing all my gushing for Eald'narche off the air, so I can keep it professional and objective on here. To simplify, because it seems like a lot of people in chat still don't understand how he works. After the explanation, and also I've been watching a lot of streams, like I said, this month, and there are a lot of people who don't understand how Eld works or how to utilize him properly, and that is a big thing. And honestly, I'll get to that later in my review. But first of all, to break it down even simpler, Eld is a lot of fun to me because it's literally playing a final boss, right? He has his phases. He has phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1, when his exoplates are on, you either his defenses are up, he has debuff, evasion, he takes 50% less brave damage and HP damage, and he has last stand. So how it is imagine your typical arc villain final boss. And the very first phase, he's not taking it very seriously, right? You spam your skill 2, you spam your HP plus. He's doing like pitiful damage. It's whatever. And then, this is perfect for long fights because he can just spam skill 2 through all of the trash waves until you get to the final wave. Skill 2 replenishes, it's splash damage, helps you clear trash waves very well. If he takes a fatal hit or whatever, boom, there's the phase transition. Just like chaos fights, once he gets to a certain HP threshold, he powers up. So for Eald'narche is if he drops to 0 HP, he will automatically shift into phase 2. Or if you want to, you hit skill 1 and he what is it called? Phase shift. There you go. Literally phase shift, and he will shift to phase 2 if you want to do it early. That's his whole phase 1 kit. When he hits phase 2 kit, then all his crazy shit comes out, right? And then he's got debuffs and all. Ink already covered that. You guys can read that up on the infographics. But basically, phase 2 is the go all out phase. So usually, if it's a fast fight, phase shift right off the bat, go crazy right away. Or if it's a long fight with 5 waves, dick around in phase 1 until the final fight, and then phase shift when you need to. In his true final form, he has 5 debuffs, and that's pretty nice. Almost as good as Kefka. You can use him as a pseudo dispeller because 5 debuffs will usually push off any generic buffs. It's really, really good. His 2 most important buffs are framed. So you've got Warp and Terror, and Warp is basically true free turns. It works exactly how Realm's Sketch works, except even better because it's AoE. So where Realm has to apply her sketch to each target individually, and we all know how Realm works, right? Any new players, just so Warp and Sketch, you apply it to a target. After that target moves, you automatically get a free turn right afterwards. So Warp is, once you use Eld's skill 2, it is AoE Warp. So if there's 3 enemies on the field, bam, all 3 of them have Warp for 2 turns, meaning Eld automatically gets 6 free turns for nothing, for 1 skill. Extremely good. And then on his EX Plus, when it comes up, he inflicts Terror for 2 turns. Terror is a straight paralyze if they are targeting Eld. And this works for AoEs as well. So it is a stronger paralyze because there are a lot of enemies that are immune to paralyze or HP silences, but since it is a framed unique debuff, Terror will almost always get through. In fact, it's so strong, some fights, the enemies are specifically immune to Terror, because it can just it can apply paralyze when they should normally be immune to paralyze and HP silence. It's just that strong. So you've got Realm's turn manipulation, which again, if anyone's seen like Ink's videos or a lot of videos, Realm into early chaos. Ink, how long did you use Realm into early chaos?
I used her up to Ultimisha's chaos, so it wasn't as long as Belial, but I did get great use out of her nonstop in the first month.
Right. And Belial, you're right, used it even longer. Like, this is a character whose gimmick is so strong. It has a lot of staying power. And in the future, we'll get to that. When Realm gets the EX Plus months before Lufania, she was actually used deep into Lufania because this instant free turn after the enemy acts is so strong. So what Realm does is she blinds the enemy and then gets those free turns. And blind is a 50% chance to miss. Eld potentially paralyzes them and gets the free turns. And again, better in an AoE situation because he has a lot of 100% AoE attacks, a lot of AoE debuffs. You've got your speed downs, attacks downs, defense downs, warps, terror. Like, it is insane. If played right, he can completely shut a fight out. I've tested him on a lot of fights. For example, the Act 2, Chapter 9 Chaos. And the boss did not get a single turn off plus the sword. They didn't get a single turn off the entire time if you warp and terror correctly. Like, this is a very fun character. You know, Black Cloud, my BFF, he says that he got really sick of playing Eld because he just cheesed and destroyed fights for months moving forward if you played him well. Like, the enemy will just not act. You think Arciela and Kafka are bad, but look at how many HP silence immunities we've already gotten, right? Like the Eald'narche Chaos is HP silence immune. Alexander's HP silence immune. You know, moving forward, there's going to be a good amount of HP silence immunes. And we already know how strong RCL and Kefka are, right? Like, people have taken them back to older fights, and the bosses just don't move at all. Well, now they get cut out because of HP silence immune, but Eald'narche does not, because terror cannot be stopped. And it's just okay. So I will say that I think he has an insanely high skill ceiling, just like a lot of Realm players. If you enjoyed playing Realm, this is the character for you. If you like the turn manipulation and the strategizing, this is for you. But not everybody played Realm to a high level. And I've been to a lot of streams where people try to use Eald'narche, and I do not think he is beginner friendly. Eald'narche is not someone you can just spam buttons and win with, unless you are utilizing terror and holding it when Eald'narche is being targeted, or you are using warp to the maximum potential. He is not good DPS unless you are milking all those free turns. But if you are milking it, great. He takes some building around. He needs regens, he needs auras, he needs buffs, because he's just going to be HP plus spamming on his free turns. He takes a lot of fucking work, but he can be insanely broken. But again, I don't know. Watching a lot of people play, this is not the play style for a lot of people. If you're a veteran player, unless you can milk Realm in a lot of chaos fights, I don't think Eld is worth the investment. And it is more of a headache than many people are willing to deal with. 100% agree. But it's just his most important debuffs are framed. And he has insane AoE damage, insane debuffs. He's the entire package, but he 100% takes skill to play. I will leave some downsides before I hand it out to Mark. It is not so simple as to simply hit his EX whenever it's up. I have been in situations where I just wanted to hit the EX whenever there were 3 enemies on the field just for maximum damage. There were times when I applied his AA and got 4 turns of terror on 3 targets, and those 3 targets never targeted Eald'narche once in all of their 4 turns, 12 turns total. RNG does 100% play a part. But again, this is a character, if you research the fight, if there are predictable AoEs, you can shut them out. All you need is Eld to be targeted once. You pop the AA, you pop the terror, and that boss is guaranteed to be stunned for 4 turns straight, and then you can renew it again. Like, you can really, really keep the stun lock, but it is a complicated kit. Mark, do you have anything to add?
I don't. He's stupid. I hate him. No, I'm joking. Aeonus the Winged in chat said they start putting terror immunity on Rhinolephania. Before then, there's nothing stopping terror except enemies that are completely immune to debuffs, correct? They would not be able to be inflicted with terror because it is a debuff, of even a frame debuff. If you are completely immune to debuffs, you cannot put a frame debuff on an enemy. No, yeah, he is super powerful. That's why I pulled for him. I'm I was pretty clear about that. He is ridiculously powerful, and yeah, if you take advantage of the AOE attacks, like Mino said and everybody else said, you can pretty much stun lock enemy. So we have this, Kefka now, Arciela now, even more so Eald'narche. This kind of stun lock your opponent or prevent the opponents from attacking completely as an option for the game and going to carry you here for a while. So I mean, if you don't like to win, then you may not like Eald'narche. And yeah, if ranged is resisted, then you bring Enchant and Periler because we got about 400 of them. I'm not really sure what the downside is. I mean, I just played through Chaos. The Chaos I'm going to talk about here in a minute, and you in Synergy you can literally just press buttons. I mean, you don't have to do HP plus whatsoever. And I completely forgot that Vortex does terror. I was thinking it didn't for some reason, and so I even played it wrong. But yeah, I mean, out of Synergy you need to be a little bit.
Even Mark can't squeeze the maximum potential out, right? It's a complicated.
But you don't need to in Synergy whatsoever. He ran out of turns right at the end, but I didn't use HP plus until then. So he's super powerful, and he's right on the heels of a lot of other powerful characters. We've just had a string of late Chaos powerful characters, meta characters. This is a great banner. I think this is an excellent banner to pull on. We were talking about kind of beginner banners that the Kane, Leo, Penelo, I think is overall, you get 3 EXs. That's a solid team. Those 3 characters are a solid team together. But damn, these 2 characters is a solid team together, Garnet and Eald'narche. And I guess twins for farming, even with their 35 CP, they're not bad farmers. Although Garnet can farm and Eald'narche can farm too if you're going to go that. But yeah, I mean, it's just a ridiculous banner. So Ink, before we transition to the fight, did you have any closing thoughts? I think we've talked about 3 hours on Eald'narche, but anything else on Eald'narche?
You missed quite a bit, actually. So one thing that Eald'narche is absolutely known for and will get abused at the end of this month is the fact that he, on his free turns, first off, if you swap him for a friend unit, on his free turn, they will get 6 turns. So they will get an extra turn.
Yeah. Good
so he's very useful for that, just to swap him when you want. Just note that Terror won't, I don't think that works when he's swapped out. The thing though is that an Eald'narche friend is absolutely broken. We posted a challenge for a free ingot a while back on the Tonberry Troupe Facebook, and using a realm friend inside of, it was the least chapter boss that had, actually you were fighting Eald'narche and 2 mannequins. We asked people, how many turns will friend realm take? And people were guessing 3 and 5 and none because you didn't use her. And she took 24 turns as a friend.
Oh, wow.
Eald'narche does the exact same thing. Literally in a Chaos fight that is coming up at the end of this month, Trey Chaos is notoriously difficult. Friend Eald'narche will run out of skills. He will have 0 skills left. You will have to spam HP++ with a friend because he is taking that many turns. So as he's absolutely, completely, utterly broken and busted as a friend, on top of the fact that the friend is going to completely lock out the enemies while he's there. So you can sort of strategically swap him. And because he's skill spamming, there won't be any trouble keeping terror up the entire time. So there's that. The other, now, Mino, I don't know how you watch so many Eald'narche on stream or on videos. I tried to watch 2 Eald'narche videos and I seriously fell asleep. They are super boring to watch. It is fun to play him and strategize like when you're going to use skills and stuff. But my gosh, if you're a content creator and you start posting like Eald'narche all over the place, don't be surprised if your view time goes down, because it really is boring watching him HP plus nonstop. Some other quick notes just in terms of who he runs with. He obviously loves Brave Region and Battery because he's taking a lot of free turns. And his warp debuff is sort of like a trap like Emperor, and you could see how great Emperor was with Battery. Was great. Delayers are actually good with him when he's on your main team because it gives him more time to recharge his EX so that you can persistently keep terror up if needed. So on the main team, it's fine. For as long as you understand the boss, obviously, you do need to be a little mindful of that. Delayers with a friend Eald'narche are awful, absolutely terrible. It's what I did in my my Sabin Saga video. Actually, I used an Eald'narche friend, and they got like 2 free turns, and that was it. Because Leo kept delaying the enemies, and yeah, I was not able to actually take advantage of friend Eald'narche getting free turns.
I'm really glad you brought that up. Yeah, because I ran into the same thing. Forgot to mention it. You put it very well, and I'm gonna steal this for a second to say that you also mentioned something I forgot to mention. I think, which is Eald'narche has true free turns like Realm. When Realm and Eald'narche get their free turns and they swap in and they summon or swap in a friend, it extends the summon or friend swap, and it is true free turns like Ink said about Realm. Friend Eald'narche, all his warps are true free turns. There's a lot of characters that get free turns that say they don't count during friend summon, like Lightning or whatever, or Aarolei. It's like, bam, you know what? This usually is a free turn in your main party, but then it, in a friend count, it counts down the friend count. True free turns for Realm and Eld, it does not count down. Every warp free turn is actually free. If you summon on an Eld free turn, the summon is now 7 turns instead of 6 turns. If you call a friend in, they get 6 turns instead of 5 turns. Not only is it extended, but again, Realm and Eald'narche friends can stay on the field indefinitely as long as you're manipulating free turns. But sorry, Ink, go ahead.
No. Yeah, that's exactly it. The only other thing I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention in the analysis portion is do not use his AA on a free turn, because, well, you can't get another free turn while you're in a free turn. We've known that since Jecht and King and Aarolei and all of that. So just be aware, if you're on a free turn, don't use the AA. You'll basically sacrifice your free turn for nothing. So yeah, watch out for that. Otherwise, I am all good. Friend Eald'narche is way too ridiculous not to talk about. He's insane.
Right. So to cap off, and people in chat are fighting me. And again, guys, you guys are the reasons TCC has a very elitist reputation in the community. All these people saying Eald'narche is very easy to use. Please check your veteran privilege. If you're gonna tell me Garnet and Eald'narche are equal difficulties to use, stop it. Aarolei, Garnet, characters where you can press buttons, period, and win the fight. I've seen too many streams this month. I am scarred. I've stared into the abyss, guys.
We've been watching.
Like people don't even know what Arciela do, and they press buttons and they win fights. Okay, you cannot tell me Eald'narche is on the same level. You guys are terrible. I hate you guys.
Ain't nobody know what you do. Resphoina, do you want to pull on Eald'narche now?
Your final verdict on Eald'narche. Any last?
Are you tempted now with that 30 minutes of talking about how amazing he is?
Absolutely not. I don't want to deal with that.
Rez, can you answer a question? How come there's all these little anime girls like Charlotta and Prish who are actually 1,000 years old, but they look like 10-year-olds, and they're super popular. So why is Eald'narche, a male who's actually 1,000 years old and looks like he's 10,
Okay, first of all, spoilers.
No one's gonna play FF11 anymore. Anyone who gets on me about FF11 spoilers, you're fucking full of shit. You're not gonna buy the game and pay a sub to find this is a dead game. You're all if somebody pays a sub
there's like 3 people right now streaming
and beats the Eald'narche raid, I will give them a gift card for DFF.
There are several Defo related content creators who are actually playing Final Fantasy 11 right now on Twitch.
Liars. No, I will pay. I'll give you a DFF00 gift card if you fucking sub to FF11 and do the Eald'narche raid. You're all fucking liars.
Our friend Hiramura Cat is actually streaming on Twitch Final Fantasy 11 right now. So.
There you go.
But Rez, yes, can you please explain to me why Eald'narche is not as popular as, say, Charlotta? You know, like when Charlotta came out and Prish came out, lots of fans. Eald'narche, no fans. Is it?
I don't know. I just think you're not looking in the right places. I think you've got plenty of fans.
Well, let's go to the podcast polls because that will tell us how many fans there were. 27 people willing to pity. Well, they may have been pitying Garnet. We don't know. 7 willing to use gems, 35 willing to use tickets, and 11 passing. Of those who got Eald'narche, this will give you a better check. 5 just keeping it EX because they're hipsters. 6 just realizing him. 1 person using 2 ingots. I'm looking. Oh, okay, that's Eamon. He was lying. And he was
my
trolling.
God! Can we ban Eamon?
Trolling. We're banning Eamon. And 53 going all in. Now, hey, I think Garnet's got a little bit more love. Of course, she's had her EX before. 4 just keeping it EX. 2 realizing it, and 77 fully realizing Garnet.
Whoa.
I fully realized both of them. No regrets. They are wonderful characters. Wonderful.
But I trade her, so 78.
We are hoping with the work Quetz has done, Quetz, of course, from MaterialBot, Quetzalma on Discord and Reddit, does a lot of work behind the scenes in Discord, Reddit, and created MateriaBot, and you can check out that, and he has a patron for MateriaBot as well. We're hoping to have global polls across multiple Discords moving into LDBT, so that's going to be fun. Hey, well, let's transition now. The timestamps are gone. Sorry, folks. Let's transition now to the Chaos fight, which you just saw me do on stream 3 or 4 hours ago before we even started talking about Eald'narche. Let's talk about this Chaos event. Eald'narche Chaos is a 4-wave Chaos, but the first 3 waves are mobs, and that's really just to allow, as we talked about, Eald'narche to ramp up and truly shine and use as many of his abilities in Phase 1 as possible. Eald'narche, Garnet, Lan, and Rain, and Aphmau are synergy for this battle. Just going through the battle real quick. Wave 1 are 2 Abaddons who resist Earth and are weak to wind. They can inflict that nasty debuff Virus, which makes gaining buffs more difficult, so watch out for that. Yoshi Pasta, who is on YouTube and does TCC challenge runs, he did mention earlier in chat that if Garnet is inflicted with Virus and you are in her water stance and you try to switch to her lightning stance and the virus kicks in and she doesn't get the buffs, she loses the water stance as well. So she goes from water stance, she doesn't get lightning, and then she loses the water stance. So that's an interesting mechanic or just a reality with that. So be careful with that virus debuff. Wave 2 are 3 scorpions. The middle scorpion is a red scorpion. The regular scorpions are weak to earth and resist poison. The red scorpion resists fire and the virus. So sorry, Yuffie, can't bring her to cheese that. They are resistant to ice and water. Red scorpion inflicts virus and doom, while the regular scorpions inflict doom and poison. So more debuffs there. Of course, you have Aphmau for the debuff evasion in this particular fight as well. Wave 3 are gargoyles. They absorb holy. They have a good chunk of HP as well and are weak to wind. If you kill one, it can summon the other one back, so kill them close together. The boss wave is an aloof horn. who is immune to HP disable, sorry, Kefka and Arciela, and absorbs Holy and Dark, sorry, everybody who does those elements. It has 2 killer bees with it who negate earth damage. Can't do earth damage to them. Yeah, interesting damage stuff considering the twins are synergy here. The killer bees can inflict poison and deal extra damage to debuffed characters. The aloof horn can bolster its allies, the bees, by cleansing their debuffs, granting them buffs, granting them shields, granting himself shields, healing them, and resummoning them if they die. He may automatically resummon them at a certain HP threshold as well. It can inflict the confuse debuff, although it's very slight chance to inflict confuse, but if you get unlucky, it can blow a run. When it uses looking to move quickly, when you get that prompt, it means he's going to use Eald'narche, a high turn rate brave attack. If he breaks you, he'll act again and likely do one of his several brave plus HP attacks. His most powerful attack is Horn Blight and its plus variant, which are powerful AoE brave plus HP magic attacks. Finally, if you inflict the boss with lock, like your tank maneuver, it enrages, spamming Horn Blight plus every single freaking turn. And so all of those Reddit posts and all of those Facebook posts going, this is so hard. And then you're using Snow and you're using Warrior of Light and you're using other tanks. That's why. Don't use those things. That will go. So that's just kind of the basics of the fight. Mino, did you have any experience with this?
I got nothing to add except that it's bullshit that Aphmau is synergy and stronger than all the other synergies combined.
Oh, so powerful.
No, I've seen it's ridiculous. Like Aphmau alone has
She's
carried
broken.
so many teams in this fight. I've been watching so many streams. Aphmau alone.
Well,
has
Eald'narche, I believe our friend Vayne Novus, I believe he did a Eald'narche solo of this. Or no, he didn't pull Eald'narche. Who did it? Anyway, maybe Ink can fill us in, but
Vayne
I believe...
has.
Okay,
Vayne
so
has.
it was Vayne. Yeah, Vayne did a... oh, no, that was DE1. That wasn't this one. I apologize. That was a Dimensions End 1. But I'm pretty sure Aphmau and Eald'narche could duo it very easily. And probably Eald'narche and Garnet could do it as well.
100%. Aphmau. This fight makes Aphmau look better than Garnet and Eald'narche.
She's super awesome.
I've seen teams. Everyone likes to run the synergy teams. Anyone with Aphmau cuts that turn count down way shorter than if you have like Eld and Garnet or even Eld Garnet twins. Eld Garnet twins is more turns than just Aphmau plus 2 whoever fucking people you want. Aphmau is ridiculously bonkers.
Speaking of Aphmau, Resphoina, did you use her for this fight?
Yes, I did. I needed to put her to use after she almost bankrupted me. I ended up using her with Garnet and Terra, and I had a lot of fun with it. But I was amazed at how many skill uses Aphmau had left. But it was a super fun fight to do with Terra. I hadn't used her. I hadn't brought her to a chaos fight. I was going to bring Stelis, and then Jin pointed out the lock mechanic, and so I decided against it. But so it was a perfect opportunity to bring in Terra, since Mighty Meteor it does AoE brave but single target HP, which worked really well for the boss.
That is an excellent team. Inkwelder, do you have anything to throw in about this fight?
I'm just going to say that Kefka does not give a flying crap that HP silence is resisted. He is incredible for this chaos, and
the rest of his debuffs hit. So,
and it actually works out, since it won't push off the debuff, the imperils either if you're using Garnet.
Yeah, it works. It works great, and also blind is a very valuable debuff as well. So, can't lock out Kefka.
Kefka. Well, Arciela can be in this fight too. She doesn't care really that much. I mean, she still does what she does fairly well. But Aphmau is ridiculous. I went in the first time because I did not have my Eald'narche fully boarded yet, and I didn't want to bring him in under full power. I brought Kais, Zidane, and Fujin because I forgot Fujin doesn't heal. And so that team won. It just won with Zidane being dead and Kais and Fujin having 700 HP. But I still got max score and beat it in like 40 turns. So
Yeah, Kais is still pretty broken, and Kais and Fujin are still really broken. But yeah, you go back in with Eald'narche and Garnet and Aphmau, and they tore it apart just by pressing buttons while I was talking to you. I did it beforehand, but I did it also on stream, and so you can see me misplay several different things, and it didn't matter at all. Now, the TCC challenge, which has been announced for this particular fight, is banning a kind of a smaller cast of characters this time. So again, you can check out all the TCC challenges at DecidiaInfo.com. That's our friend Macnol. Or you can go to Reddit and please, just a note about TCC challenge, submit them on Reddit. You can share them on Facebook, on Twitter, on our Discord. That's fine. Share them, hype them up, but submit them to the call to arms on Reddit, and that link is in DecidiaInfo.com because Macnol's the one that sets them in. And if you don't have them for like this last one, Aphmau Lost Chapter, if you haven't submitted them like 24 hours before the show, likely... yes, Decidia, what did I say? Kriese is making...
Yeah, not Reddit.
Oh, okay. On Decidia. Okay, the submission form is on DecidiaInfo.com. Let me be clear. So go to DecidiaInfo.com, the call to arms, whatever fight you want to do. There is the submission form. So go there. Don't post it on our Facebook or on Twitter because I don't do any of that. So I'm not going to do anything. I will appreciate it and I'll watch it and like it, but I won't submit it to Macnol. So you won't get credit, basically, is what I'm telling you.
I'll also point out that if you do go to Decidia Info and you submit it, it will automatically route to the website page on the Tonberry Troupe site.
Oh, okay.
That shows your run with a link to your run and the team that you used for that event. So it's a pretty cool way of having your team easily accessible by the community.
Wonderful collaboration. So for Ghosts of the Past TCC Challenge, the Eald'narche event chaos, Garnet, Eald'narche, Lan and Rain, Aphmau, Arciela, Kais, Aarolei, Hope, Freya, and Galuf. They are banned. You can imagine why they're banned because they make it pretty easy. So those characters are banned, but there is a wide breadth and width of characters that are available for your regular TCC challenge. Now, also, yes, the bans also now at this point apply to all friends. Yes, Elf is banned. You cannot bring him. There's too many cats. No, he doesn't eat bees. He eats cats. Anyway, I don't know. I haven't even had that much whiskey. I don't know what's wrong with me. No, that also applies to the ban. So all the characters I just listed, their friend units are also banned. Now, if you hate yourself and you want to do the TCC Extreme Challenge, you have to inflict target lock on the aloof horn before he casts his Reflect ability. And the
Refect, right?
Refect, excuse me. Refect, it's not Reflect.
Reflect.
I also read that as Reflect.
Yes, it is Refect. That is the ability that wipes debuffs. Is that it?
Yeah, and it's on their first and second turn that they do it. So you need to basically lock them immediately.
So yes, so you need to lock them immediately, and that will send the aloof horn into rage mode. And you can't bring a friend. You can bring any summon you want, but you need to lock, so you need to have a character who can lock. The same, I believe it's the same ban list, and no friends. So, yep, there are actually people who have done this, but it's pretty crazy. Yeah, all right, so good luck to all of you who dislike your sanity, and we'll go from there. So transitioning from Eald'narche's event to one of the many other things we have to talk about in the next 6 hours, that is what just launched 32 minutes ago, Dimensions End Tier 13. So yet another Dimension End, and again, we'll talk about it later, but there is more rewards available if you beat this, in addition to the rewards that we've already gotten, so you can catch up on Dimensions End 1 through 12 and get the rewards for that, and then if you beat it, you'll get additional awards for Tier 13. We've been watching a lot of people try to catch up on Dimensions End 1 through 12, and if you have the resources, great. If you don't kill yourself. Now, TonberryTroupe.com has a beautiful infographic that they've all been working on for Tier 13. Go check that out, TonberryTroupe.com. I shared it on our Facebook. I shared it on our Twitter. It's also in our Discord. Our friend Black Cloud Strafe, or Black Nero on YouTube, has a wonderful video for every entropy, but also for entropy Tier 13, where he breaks down the fight, and he gives you many different videos that he found online of completes. Tonberry Troupe infographic also has that. So I am going to now do the same thing that they did, just in case you don't want to go to any of those websites. And that is walk through what this fight is. Tier 13 is 3 waves. All enemies resist melee damage, but ranged and magic damage is just fine. Enemies are very fast acting with some self-speed buffs and high turn rate abilities. They do frequent AoE and HP attacks. Each enemy has some generic debuff immunity. Actually, they all, I believe, are immune to generic debuffs. So your attack down, defense down, max brave down, speed down, int brave down. They're immune to those generic debuffs, status effects. All enemies inflict some kind of semi-annoying debuffs. Wave 1 is one Elveret. It's whose boss is that? It's a funny looking like demon with a top. And
it's just a boss from a chapter.
Okay, it's just a chapter boss. So it's called the Elveret, and one Spark Eye, which of course we fought the Spark Eyes many times, those white eyes that go crazy. Both enemies continue to power up the more turns pass and the more damage they take, so you do not want them to live very long. The Spark Eye has its Supercell attack. That is a nasty AoE plus HP attack after a Brave gain. The Elveret has a stacking buff that buffs itself and debuffs the party. And so the more it stacks, the more it buffs and debuffs. So that is nasty. But I think you should focus on the Spark Eye first to prevent too much HP loss. Then we go to Wave 2, which is 2 Jewel Turtles, which we fought multiple times. The turtles resist the fire element. Sorry, Lulu. When turtles hide, they gain massive brave and come out swinging with an AoE HP attack. They can also cleanse themselves of non-frame debuffs. And if they break you, they can considerably act fast, might act again, so be careful to brave shave them and not get broken. They will cleanse themselves and also gain a massive amount of brave. Just make sure you shave them and make sure that you do not allow them to break you if possible. Wave 3 is a little bit different. We have 2 Mariliths. One is a Marilith Gloria and one is a Marilith Tempest. The Mariliths have a myriad of AoE attacks, like that wordplay. The Gloria can inflict HP poison, which is always nasty, and gets turn rate up when breaking you or attacking a broken target. Same for the turtles, if I wasn't clear on that. If they attack a broken target, they get turn rate up. The Tempest dishes out massive Brave plus HP attacks. The Gloria does not enrage if the Tempest is killed, but the Tempest does enrage if the Gloria dies. So make sure you kill the Marilith Tempest first. They have the lowest. What, that is the right one?
Yeah, the blue one on the right.
The blue one on the right. That is the Tempest. That's the one you should kill first, or kill them at the same time. But don't kill the one on the left first. They have the lowest HP of all 3 waves, so if you summon on this wave, you can likely kill them pretty fast. Some general strategies before I throw it over to Ink and my other guests. You can HP silence. Arciella, Terror, Eald'narche will help a lot with this tier. As always, you could probably use 1 or 2 healers, and we have a lot of healers to choose from. You can always use Enchant and Perilers to allow you to bring some melee characters or even tanks like Snow and Zac. Or just to do some extra damage. Kais and Cloud of Darkness are both 2 massive damage dealers that we have, but can be used in future tiers as well. Cater, who we just got 37 minutes ago, can actually solo this tier if you wait for Alexander boards and have near perfect arts and you don't suck. So, Ink, would you like to add anything to Dimensions and Entropy tier 13?
Sure. I mean, I'll just say that the roles required to beat this are considerably less stringent. Like, for example, for 12, you needed probably to double up on healing. You needed a Dispeller. You needed quite a lot of role coverage on top of damage. This is really about bringing a healer and bringing damage dealers. the damage per turn needed for score and everything is an extra 16k. You have to deal 76,000 damage per turn to get through this. And that's why you need those heavy hitters. That's why Kais and Cloud of Darkness are quite popular for this. So yeah, just make sure you can triple support through this, I think, but you have to be really careful. Also, I think that's a waste of supports to use 3 of them on one stage. But yeah, just know that I saw a lot of people already trying this with Eald'narche, and just to further demonstrate that he's difficult to use, they were wiping on this even with Eald'narche. And also in the first wave, the Elvorit, the ugly looking thing, its buff does have evade with it.
Yeah.
So it can dodge terror
Yes.
and HP silence potentially. So just if you want to actually check the debuff, make sure it's on there. If it's not on there, you might want to make sure you don't get broken. I haven't tried it yet because I'm talking on this podcast. So that's all I've got.
Well, speaking of people who should be talking on the podcast but are probably doing Dimensions End Entropy Tier 13 right now, Mino, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Have you finished it yet?
No, I have not started yet. Out of respect for the podcast, I'm waiting for it to be over.
I don't
My
believe you.
attention's here. I'm more interested. Rez, do you have your team planned out for this yet?
Hell no. It took me months to do DE like 3 to 8 or something, and then since then I've been. I'm all caught up now, and like since 8, I've been pretty prompt, but I haven't mapped out my team or anything. I've been too upset about Aphmau.
Well, you have Aphmau.
I have Aphmau now, but it was like a week of being upset, and I was too salty.
Note that if you try and use Aphmau here, you're going to want to bring Garnet or Fujin alongside her because half her kit is resistant.
Right.
There was a lot of Kais, a lot of Cloud of Darkness, a lot of Eald'narche, a lot of Aphmau, a lot of Garnet, not a lot of Fujin in the videos that I saw that Black Cloud went over, or in the list on the Tonberry Troupe. But yeah, those 5 characters especially, with some other healers mixed in as well. All right, well, good luck. We'll talk more about that. I'm planning to use Garnet, Eald'narche, and another support. Or either I'm going to do that, or I'm going to just bring Cloud of Darkness and say, what the hell, maybe I can do it with one healer. But I'm guessing probably not, and I might need to burn Penelo. So that would be Garnet, Eald'narche, and Penelo. Should be fine. So, all right. Well, hey, not only did we get Dimensions End Tier 13, but we also got a next wave of the Summer Incursion, Part 2. And that brought us a new banner. And I'll throw that banner right up here on stream. There you go. That banner is Cater. Oh, Cater got her rework, and she's so great, and everybody loves her. She's got a bag, and that bag's full of dodging. And so, she's bag. That's her power. She's got a bag. She's the only character in the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia with a bag. Who do you think carries all the shit? It's Cater. And if you're familiar with Type 0, she carries all the emotional baggage from that group. You just anyway. So that's on. Yuri is also on this banner, Emperor and Cater, and we get a free pull. I'm going to do my free pull right now on stream, and we'll see what I get. But I think Inkwelder of the Tonberry Troupe fame can quickly walk us through the massive rework that Cater got. Because if you're new to the show, if you're new to Defo, Cater used to not be very good forever. For the last 2 years and several months, Cater was the worst character in the game. She's no longer the worst character in the game. So, Ink, why is that?
Yeah, so Cater, it took her years to dig inside her bag to find her EX Plus and her EX weapon in general. But she's got a rework for the for people that were familiar with Cater's kit beforehand, I'm going to say that you can skip ahead, but I'm going to cover this as though no one knows how on earth to use Cater. And I'll take
Yes,
it
please.
similar to Eald'narche. So
Your test is you got to let, by the end of your explanation, Rez has to be a master of Cater. So after you explain it, and because I think Rez, correct me if I'm wrong, you've done zero research on this, correct?
Oh, 100%. But I am not. I do not approve these rules.
So after you, we're passing it to Rez, and Rez, you gotta let us know what you think.
I will give my thoughts. I will give my thoughts on Cater.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. So, Cater, her role that she covers for you, she is an ice-based attacker. She evades quite a lot and counters, similar to, let's say, Galuf or Shadow. And she has a small ability to tank for your team. So I'm going to cover abilities out of order again, because that's the hipster thing to do. So her skill 2 is Triple Slip. She gets 6 uses of it. It is an instant. It's Triple Slip.
Okay.
It is a free instant turn when you use it. It gives her a massive attack boost of 20%. But more notably, it gives her a framed buff, which is now called Charge and Dodge. I just learned that by reading the in-game news. I had no idea what it was called previously. Charge and Dodge is the key to her kit. It is a frame buff that gives her evasion plus 80%. That stacks with Shiva and Ramuh summon passives up to 90%. So her dodge is not, her evasion is not guaranteed, but it's pretty darn close. It also gives her, throughout her entire kit, high turn rate. Cater is really, really fast. So you have to watch out for that. And then it also gives her ice enchant. So all of her attacks will be ice, and that's pretty important because she is a mixed kit. She has magic and ranged attacks. The fact that she can dodge ties in very nicely with her Crystal 50 passive, which has been reworked. I will just say justice for Steiner, who has an awful Crystal 50 passive. But Cater's got reworked so that when she evades an attack, she now counters with 2 Ice Brave attacks into single target HP damage. And she has a Brave refund, Brave gain afterward to fuel more counters, more damage from counters. Her skill 1 is Blizzara Rock. If you see Blizzard Rock, don't press the button, because you need Charge and Dodge for Blizzara Rock, and you should never use anything but Cater's skill 2 if she doesn't have her framed buff on her. So Blizzara Rock is AoE Brave hits into single target HP damage. It overflows like crazy. It hits real hard. And of course, it's ice. Everything I say is ice based. It inflicts 1 turn of lock. So one of the big problems with Cater throughout the entire game is that while she had this great ability to evade attacks, but had no ability to draw enemies to her. So now she has the ability to inflict 1 turn of lock. So yes, it's just 1 turn, but she has 11 uses of this skill. So, and she has high turn rate, so she's jumping quite a lot. She can certainly protect your party like this. I know JP players use this and could completely lock down an entire fight with the 11 uses of Cater's skills. So don't use it though when the enemy is targeting all, because that will be a complete waste of it. With Charge and Dodge, her frame buff, she gets access to some pretty saucy Brave and HP++ attacks. Her Brave++, I believe, is called Charged Shot, and it's a single target Brave into HP attack on her Brave++, but it gives her a Brave refund. This is the only button that you can press with Cater so that she ends her turn with Brave, because otherwise she attacks with every single skill or gets an instant turn rate. So if you are worried about a guaranteed attack that's coming, guaranteed hit, then Brave++ is the way to go. Otherwise, her HP++ is an AoE shave into splash damage, which is quite nice. And so she uses that pretty often. Her new shiny EX is called Consecutive Rounds. And if you have seen Cater's animation for her EX, you know why it's called that. It is AoE HP, AoE Brave hits into split HP damage. It debuffs all enemies with ice resist down. That is huge because it lets her bypass the resistance and let her hit constant weakness damage. It also inflicts a turn of landmine. Landmine is a trap-like effect that she has. It's one turn, so right after the enemy goes, it's single target Brave hits into HP splash damage, and it gives Cater Brave Refund to fuel her next counter or her other landmine going off. It also buffs her with her new framed buff, which is called Lively Magicite Pistolier, probably one of the best named framed buffs I've seen. And this gives her an attack and max Brave boost. It gives her overflow throughout her entire kit. It also gives her Brave Regen, which is important because she is a very fast character. Now, in terms of her, well, I'll talk about that in a second. So her AA, you can use it. It gives her an Ice Enchant to herself. Ice Enchant stacks with other Ice Enchant and Ice abilities and will equal 20% Brave damage up. So with the whole Brave damage reduction that's coming up, it's nice to stack your enchants when possible. It gives her Ice Enchant, but more importantly, it gives her 4 turns of an evasion boost, which will pump her above 100% evasion and mean that she has guaranteed evasion. When you have her AA up, you should pretty much be spamming her HP++ and her EX. Everything has high turn rate, but those two have the lowest turn rate. If you use her Brave++, if you use Triple Slip is an instant turn. So make sure you've got uses, make sure you have the duration on charge and dodge for at least 5 turns when you use this. Otherwise, you're going to have to waste one of her turns of guaranteed evasion, which you do not want to do. So you're going to spam HP++ and use her EX while that is up. Going into her EX+, I am not going to walk through every level because Cater is a damage dealer. 3-3 her or don't bother. She does not work in the middle. It is disrespectful to the power of Cater if you EX plus 0, 1, or 2 her. Her EX, well, first off, she gets an attack and max Brave boost from her EX plus. She gets longer durations on all of her buffs, and she starts the quest with 8 turns of all of her buffs. So that's pretty cool if you're dealing with really fast bosses that start their turn, that start the wave on their turn. Cater will already be ready to dodge and counter them, which is pretty awesome. And her EX will actually execute twice. It's got a ridiculous 200% overflow on it. It hits extremely hard. Landmine, her EX debuff, her trap, gets overflow attached to it, and it also gives her a bigger refund back, which is really, really good for her dealing more damage. It just constantly fuels her damage. If you max her out, her A sphere is attack and eye brave plus 10% for 3 turns when evading an attack. I can't think of any dodge character that cares about attack and eye brave. Most dodge characters just care about attack or attack and max brave. So this is pretty perfect for Cater. I should also mention that her EX has a normal charge on it, so it actually charges pretty quickly. What is the next part to talk about with Cater are her artifacts. And this is hotly, this is my hot take of the episode. Her best in slot by far is buffed attack boost. It gives her attack and max brave plus 20%, and it stacks so up to 60% boost to attack and max brave. You want 3 of them, absolutely. Now, Cater is known for soloing stuff. She can solo Entropy 13. She can solo most of the entropies underneath that as well, as long as they don't absorb ice. Entropy 9 does. I know there's probably another. If you are planning to solo, I am going to compare this. This is like basically if you purple cater, this is like buying a Lamborghini, driving it 20 minutes up the coast, and then leaving it on the beach and going away and letting it rust. Cater is great at soloing. If you use her for an entropy stage, awesome. You do need alongside, in order to solo, you need Charged Blizzard Rock Triple Slip. It gives her an extra use of both of her skills. But the thing is Cater has 17 skill uses. With a normal charging EX, she does not run out of skills. So unless you're soloing, and that's because she doesn't have any aura, and she's also taking all the turns. So if you want to actually use your Lamborghini, you are going to want Attack 108 with her buffed attack boost. And that is her best in slot for whatever it's worth, because she is constantly countering enemies, constantly attacking. You want the boost to her attack primarily. In a normal team comp, she won't run out of abilities. JP players have used her far into Chaos, and they had no perfects at all, and did absolutely great with Cater using her on team comps. So with that, I will stop talking about Cater for a minute. I have thoughts on Cater, but I will leave that for after. Rez, did you have anything that you are you convinced that are you gonna now pity this banner?
Absolutely not.
Pop quiz, Rez. I know you have strong feelings.
Not.
Let us hear it all.
So my thoughts on Cater, after Ink's very generous description, these are my thoughts on Cater. She pulls off her haircut surprisingly well. She has a very cute backpack. I know, I was surprised, but then I saw it a little bit closer, and I think it works on her. She has a very cute backpack, which I was not privy to this meme beforehand, but I'm glad I'm privy to it now. I don't want to farm her arts though. So of course this means that I'm going to get her on the free pull. And I also don't like you said, the main purpose of Cater is to solo these things, and I just don't have the time or patience to solo anything. Like Shadow is one of my favorite characters. I didn't even have the patience to solo with Shadow in DE, especially, I mean, Ink, your video on Shadow solo was amazing, but I mean, you were very, very transparent about how many resets you did. And I don't have that kind of time or patience. So those are my thoughts on Cater. They're not very helpful, but that's what I'm planning on doing or not doing. I mean, props to everybody who's pulling on her, who purpled her, who are planning on soloing. I respect that hugely. I just will not be doing that.
Where's Shera to give us a little bit more Type 0 input into? I'm trying to remember kind of what her personality was, but it doesn't matter. Anyway.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so she is, so obviously she can solo right now a good chunk, if not almost all of the Dimensions and Entropy stages. And not terribly. Now, she can solo them a lot easier than Shadow can solo. She can solo them a lot easier than several other characters can solo. That being said, she is good on teams. She's not a bad character on a team. She does what she does really well. In fact, you actually want not perfect cursed arts. And she's going to have another set here of boards here to help her out. So, so you can wait, obviously, is kind of the point Eamon's trying to make here. He's been hyping Cater for a while, but I think she's really good. Her haircut's adorable, and her bag has just untold utility. I mean, there's just so many things you can do with a bag in Final Fantasy. You got to hold your stuff. So I'm not sure that I would go, the same for Kane. Obviously, I went for Kane. I felt bad. Mino bullied me because Kane is one of my favorites, and I hadn't gotten his EX.
One of his quote unquote favorites.
Yes, one of my favorites. I've pulled on every single one of Kane's banners, and I've not gotten his EX. I maxed him back in 35 era, but Mino kept making me feel bad about not having his EX. And so I went back and pulled. I used all of my precious resources to get Kane's EX. I bought his costume, Squex Joshua. You're welcome. I didn't talk about it last week, I'm not selling the merch as well as I should be.
That's one of the best costumes. I
So
love it.
it is an amazing costume.
I'm so surprised. There's so many. There's such split opinion on it. People either think it's hideous,
I love
or
it.
that it's great.
Oh my god, I love it.
I don't
only had Hanes 15 and I bought it. I couldn't help
So
myself.
good. So good.
You bought it, Rez? You're a fucking whale.
Hey! I got a donation to buy it. Somebody saw how much I wanted it, so I did buy it. Technically,
If anybody,
donations,
if anybody would like to
I'm
donate to me to help recoup the losses from pulling on
I'm the
Kane's
Kane.
EX, please.
Mark didn't even spend gems, guys. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, you know what, Mark? I'm tired of all three of you. It's my turn to give my opinion on Cater. Mark, you skipped my turn. I'm extra drunk. These explanations. This is we're at the
He's
2
had
hour
one.
mark.
He's had one drink, Rez.
Dude,
That's
this is ridiculous.
he drank
Like,
it all though.
We usually end the podcast at this point. We had a little blackout in the middle. It's gone on long. I'm extra drunk. This is I need to extra makeup for all this shit. Cater, guys, look. Okay, first of all, look, Cater's main appeal. I'm gonna say a lot of shit with zero backing up. Ink, you can correct me afterwards, and I'm sure people in chat are gonna do the same. Cater's main draw are the entropy solos. I do not think it was a coincidence that in JP, as soon as they announced the entropy tier awards, they said, "Hey, here's a banner with Penelo, Leo, and Cater." And then, these are entropy heavy hitters. Statistically, they've been used in a bunch of tiers, each of them. And then Cater has proved a solo 1 through 13, which is where the awards.
Not 9.
Whatever. 9 has the ice absorb, so Cater can't do that. But she can do 12 of the 13 tiers theoretically. And I don't think it was a coincidence at all there that they said, here is the best entropy soloer of 1 through 13. Right when you get rewards for clearing 13. Here you go, guys. And the thing is, I've gone back and forth on my research a lot, and I am still convinced of one thing, which is Cater's main value is entropy solos. And she can solo, like fucking Eald'narche's Chaos, I guess. Who cares? She's got a lot of solos. But team utility, very weak. And moving forward power-wise, very weak. Ice Locked is 1. Second is a counter character that relies on counters for good DPS and cursed arts. Rez, you forgot to mention that, even though you're ranting about that before the episode. These cursed arts.
I did say. I said I don't want to farm her arts. Get it together, Mino.
Drunk. Did Ink give his statistics on the percentage of getting these cursed arts? Okay, you will. Okay, these are abysmally low percentages to get the cursed arts. She is a good character for budget low level solos, low entropy tiers, like tiers 1 through 6 or whatever. She doesn't need perfect arts, just very average arts. She doesn't need cursed arts. She can do it, and that is very good for beginners tackling entropy. And there are just so many this month, beginners tackling entropy for the first time. But if you want to get higher, you need those perfect cursed arts and spheres. And the question is, do you want to invest that for a solo? Clearly, she is great for entropy catch up for beginner players, but for veterans, unneeded, honestly. Any longtime veteran should have a stacked enough roster to tackle 1 through 13 now. And then going forward, it only gets easier. Like right now, I was talking to Black Cloud before the show. I said I have too many options for tier 13 and moving forward, because after 15, it just becomes a joke. And Mark, I did clear it, by the way. It was Kane, Eald'narche, and Penelo.
Oh, you brought Kane. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I needed to get rid of him.
I might use Kane. I might do that team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people were throwing Aarolei on here, and that's probably the safer bet for sure.
Yeah.
But
I already burned Aarolei.
Kane can do it. Yeah. And then
Hey, just to stop because you're not paying attention to chat.
Yes.
Thank you, Lids87, our friend Lids87 on Twitch and YouTube. Check out all his great content for Defo and other games. Just rated us, and welcome to his group. We have a lot of crossover in our community, so a lot of you know us. But if you don't, I realized you came in while Mino was trashing. Cater, but there was just a lot of Cater hype. So yeah, this is just the counterbalance.
Before Lids pieces out, I just want to say, while I'm drunk, I don't need to be diplomatic. So Lids, out of all the should you pull videos, yours are my favorite. But disclaimer, Broadway saying is really upping his game lately. I think he might catch up. But right now, Lids, your should you pulls are my favorite that I check weekly for sure. Again, no, Broadway saying's coming for your ass, so don't get comfortable. Okay.
Broadway gifted us several subs, so he's my favorite. And his cooking shows are much better than yours, Lids. So
okay. So addressing chat coming in. A lot of people are asking too. They're saying, so if I don't plan to, the question is, if I don't plan to solo an entropy tier, is Cater worth it? In my opinion, I am going to say no with a few disclaimers. Okay, so I always list what characters are good at. One is that Macnol likes to remind us all that Snow was the last big tank we've have. And the next big tank we have is Bosch. Very far apart. The only pseudo tank in between is Cater now. If you missed out on Snow and you need a tank or some temporary lock evasion shenanigans, Cater will fill that role in your roster. So in that, she is very useful if you are lacking a true tank. 1. 2 is she is locked to ice element and definitely locked to her evasion to equal DPS. So that is one thing to consider. But 3, and Ink has probably done more research on this, and he can talk to this in more depth. But in a team, I feel like Cater is clunky. She's not going to get all the evasions. It's kind of like 8 in a team, right? Like if you used 8 and you really liked 8, and 8 does way more damage, by the way, unless you're imperiling
No
ice.
way.
Unless you're imperiling ice.
No.
Okay, no, we're talking about, I think 8
8
with the defense ignore EX plus. Do you disagree here?
completely.
Okay.
Cater damage. Her damage is ridiculous. She's real. I mean, she's hitting weakness. 8 is very awkward. 8 with his LD, sure. When 8 gets upgraded, sure, he's better than Cater then.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
I agree. Sorry. So with the short taunts that Cater gets, sorry, I apologize to Ink. She is more consistent on at least proccing the evasion, but it is not. She's not a true tank. She can't keep it up all the way, and 100%. I feel like 4 veterans with a beefy roster and LDBT coming up, unless you're a newer player who insists on soloing an entropy tier to free characters up because your bench is not deep enough to clear 13 turns. Cater is not a must pull. But I feel like if you really are a new player that needs to play entropy catch up, she is a must to clear 12 of the 13 tiers. That is my thing. But if we're taking entropy aside though, I don't like temporary evasion tanks, even though people have made really good use of Prompto, and Edge is a little more consistent. The element lock here, but again, Edge can keep up his lowish DPS, but it's consistent without the evasions. I just don't feel like, if people asked me about these recent banners, right, I would say Kane is a safer pick, Leo is a safer pick, Pinello is a safer pick, Garnet and Eald'narche
That
are
banner
safer
is gone.
picks. Yes,
Kane banner is gone.
These are safer picks, and I thought Ink was gonna talk about Kane earlier. He said he wanted to, but basically, we had a talk between this episode and last episode, and I trashed Kane last episode, and I will stand by it. He is not a meta unit, but again, I've been watching so many new players start this game and tackle entropy in the last week since the entropy limited time rewards were announced and issued, and Kane has been a lifesaver for many people because he is a very easy easy to use character. He farms super fast, and he just does amazing DPS and fulfills 90% of his potential if you blindfold yourself and press buttons. And again, moving forward, I need to really stress that certain characters are much easier to use if you want to be a casual player, like Garnet and Kayn. And again, to the elitists in our chat, Eald'narche, I do not believe is an easy to use character. If you recommend it to your friend who started a week ago, he is not going to play Eald'narche well, and he'd be better off with Kayn and Garnet. But Mark, back to you. I'm drunk.
We were talking in chat about SYP videos, so I said I should do cosplay in character should you pull videos as they were talking about my Shantoto rhyme videos, and then I thought, Zaz and Ragin are the next too, so no, I probably should not do that for different reasons. So yeah, Cater, I don't what day is it? Is it still the same day we started this podcast? I don't know. Cater's great unless she's not great. I think that's the point that you should get. If you want to get Cater, you should get her. If you don't want to get her, you should not get her. I think that's the point. I think that's the takeaway. If you like Cater, you should pull her. If you really love soloing content. Now, we haven't talked about this. Mino has been obsessively watching people try to clear Dimensions and Entropy
Mark,
1 through 12.
Mark, since you mentioned it, I just have to say really quick, stop soloing as a new player, please. I don't understand this obsession. Please, I have a list of newbie tips I wanted to give to newbies tackling entropy, and I was going to save for the end of the show in case we ran out of time, and there's always other episodes. But the number one tip is please stop fucking soloing.
And duoing.
Yeah, I've seen too many new players tackling entropy for the first time this month, and it's they get so pissed at the game that they want to quit. They think entropy is bullshit because they try so many solos and fail. And I've seen half a dozen more. I've seen like 2-3 dozen people who reach like tier 3. And they say, okay, I'm going to try a Kefka solo. 5 hours later, fuck this is frustrating. I'm going to do a real team. And then they clear with that 3-man team in 1 or 2 tries after 5 hours of fail solo. Then they hit tier 4. They're like, okay, lightning solo time. And then another 5 hours of frustration before they bring an actual team and clear it. It's not supposed to be this hard. Jack tier 7 solos, it's Gala tier 5 solos. These are getting ridiculous. Please stop advising newbies to solo. I've seen veterans jump into newbie streams and tell them to solo too, even though those veterans haven't soloed themselves as well. Shadow tier 9. These are bad things. You're rolling the dice 100 times and hoping it doesn't come up 5 or 6 in any of those 100 times. That's what you're telling people to do when they solo. Ink has done his solos. Vayne Novus has done their solos. They can fucking speak to this. Please stop advising new players to solo for their very first entropy clear. Just stop.
So the counter argument to that, and I think original Wraith Jr., which seems like an oxymoron, said in chat that new players have less characters, less resources, so isn't it a good idea? It is, but you have to be pretty good, I guess. And right, you need to have the skills to play, which you probably haven't developed enough because you haven't played enough content. If you haven't played all through 13 tiers of Dimensions End, to have that. And usually the solos are not kind of easy press unless there's a couple that are a little bit easier to solo, but a lot of them are not. And right, if you're spending 2-3 hours, I think Ink talks about how long it took him to do the Shadow one. But yeah, it's always easier to go to get through as much as you can, to go through as many tiers of Dimensions and Entropy as possible, and then go back and say, well, I don't have any more characters. Is there a tier I can now solo, free up some characters, or go back? Personally speaking, again, as a veteran who's been playing since day one, it's just we just have a lot of characters, right? So it's not that big of a deal. But being able to free up older characters who get reworked and etc. Is really kind of the main reason you would want to do that. Now, Macnol of DecidiaInfo.com is saying it's also worth noting that too many newbie players think only purple units can work in Dimensions End. We did a lot of Dimensions End without full purple teams. In fact, I think Inkwelder generally only has one purple character per tier. So yes, if you use 3 purples, especially the new characters per tier early on, you're going to make short work of Dimensions End and probably run out of characters to use. The best thing to do would be to go to remind me what the website is, Inc. The tracker.
OO Tracker?
OO Tracker.
OOTracker.com.
OOTracker.com.
Awesome. He's such a good developer.
Yeah, shout out to Dami C. A lot of people I personally know said that OO Tracker has helped them immensely in coming up with entropy teams by seeing what other people use and what is popular.
And it's also just good for sharing your entire roster. If you are looking for help, it's so frustrating to say, can someone please help me with tier 7? And someone's like, just use Zach. And it's like, I don't have Zach though. This is where you can easily share a screenshot of your entire roster broken down with all of your tiers shown. It's such an easy way for people to help you out and to give you advice on what you should do.
And to address our guest of honor in here, Lids, who's saying, Lids says, I don't mind telling people to solo, fast way to learn, and frees up other 2 units for other stages. Lids, that's fair for, I feel like that's fair for like a moderately skilled player, but I have seen too many, several dozen people tackle entropy for the first time, and they throw the character in, and I don't think people explain these solos enough. I don't think they tell people, hey, you need MLB of all of this character's weapons, you need spheres in there, you need all boards, because I have literally seen somebody with a 2-board lightning, 0 spheres, and no 35 CP try to lightning solo tier 4. Stop, guys! Like, please, I think you guys have been veterans for too long, experts at the game.
True.
You're not like taking in the new player perspective at how little they understand of this game. They say, oh, I saw a YouTube video say lightning can solo tier 4, so I'm just going to throw my lightning in there. And then why isn't this working? Or like I was watching a Jack one today, and it's kind of like they didn't understand how Jack's gimmick worked. They don't understand about the break, moving the turn in front, and how to turn manipulate, and how you get that 100% evasion after the EX. Like, there's so many fucking nuances and expertise to soloing a tier and then understanding how much RNG is at stake. And nobody really stresses this when they tell people about soloing. Nobody stresses this shit. Sorry, Ink, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Lids though did hit on it, right? You should not go into a new entropy tier saying, great, I'm going to solo it. Now, if you're trying to do that with Cater for 13 and you're prepared and you've obviously done the other 12, then fine, that's a different story, right? But saying, hey, I'm in entropy 3, I'm going to go solo with Kefka, or I saw someone, I was literally helping someone or talking to someone 2 hours before this that was trying to duo with Emperor and Y'shtola on entropy 6 and said, I effing hate the game. This is awful. Why can't I do this? Meanwhile, I'm sitting there. I have Emperor as my purple, and I'm sitting there with a 0-3 Ash and a 0-3 Ignis on that, which is a much more budget, and I never had to reset. It was an easy run for me to do. So this is the thing that Lids hit on though, is that he did say it's a great option for freeing up 2 other units, which implies that you already cleared it. You're already familiar with it.
Great.
You obviously boarded your people. So to go back and you know what you're getting yourself into is great, but don't hit a roadblock because you're trying to do some insanely hard veteran content. That is, you are basically just tarnishing your view of the game instead of just trying to enjoy it. You don't have to budget everything. And I do want to touch on it. I feel like now is the right time to touch on it. People are trying to go through entropy so hard. There's literally enough free books and ingots across all of the content, and you can reuse the same 6 characters that you have that you've purpled that are your glorious team members. You can use them to purple 9 more characters. This is permanent rewards that are available through Abyss, through Lost Chapters, through Ultimate Summons, through Pathos, through Story Chapters. There, you can purple 9 characters, and on top of that, you can have 7 more 0-3 characters, which will basically help you get through so much content. So instead of sitting there and struggling with trying to get these temporary entropy rewards, go hit the permanent rewards to invest yourself in your roster so that you can actually handle content that is appropriate. I played the first 4 months of the game and I didn't do a single difficult level. For 4 months, I didn't clear anything except I went through Lost Chapters, I went through Story, and that was it. And then as soon as good banners came around that I wanted, then I started pulling. You do not have to, don't worry about getting these entropy rewards. There's far more free rewards that are sitting on the map. There's over 500,000 gems for new players sitting on the map for you. So you have plenty of resources to go do just general content. Don't feel so pressured to do entropy. And seriously, go on Discord and ask people for help. I swear, we will help people and walk people through like all 13 tiers and recommend each team that you should use for each tier, and we'll give you advice on how to run through it. People love being helpful, especially with entropy, because it's such a puzzle. It's fun to solve. It's more frustrating to try and force a puzzle piece into a slot that doesn't fit. That's very annoying. I'll stop talking now.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point. And if we're going to talk about new players, depending on how new, I mean, if you just started the game, you probably shouldn't be working on Dimensions and Entropy. That's end game content, right? But if you've been playing for a few months, you should probably take 3 characters in each wave, in each tier, and do as many tiers as you can. And then, once you run out, I mean, you get rewards depending on how many tiers you get with this limited time rewards. So, you do as many tiers as you can, and then you can go back. Thank you, Lids, for the subscription. I appreciate that. You go back and then you say, okay, who can I free up? What can I rearrange? What can I do? But you don't stress out. If you only have 20 characters, then you do 20 characters worth of entropy. You figure out how you can use those 20 characters to get through those, first few tiers. And then you're going to get more characters. Just getting those extra couple books for getting all 12 right now. Zillorus, thank you as well. Appreciate that. And thank you for the email. You're not getting a huge return on your, stress and investment. Now, if you've been sitting on, if you got 40 purple characters and you just haven't done it because you didn't want to, this might be a good time to catch up on it. Now, one of the places this is coming from is, literally all of us at, our group of TCC content creators have watched dozens of streamers this week, this last 3-4 days, try to do all 12 tiers of Dimensions and Entropy, catching up, some newer, some veteran, anywhere in between, because they haven't done it yet. And so they're killing themselves, and they're, resetting in 4 or 5 hours trying to do one solo. If it's been 2 hours, 3 hours, and you're still working on trying to solo, get past that tier and come back to it, right? I mean, it's like anything in life. It's like a test or a puzzle or, something that you get frustrated if you're a writer, if you're, an actual creator, if you're a musician. Rez is a musician. I'm sure she's experienced this, and an artist. Myself as someone who writes professionally and speaks professionally, you get writer's block and you have to go do something else, right? You have to get beyond it. And so the actual, idea to, complete it, throw 3 people on it, do it, go to the next one, and then come back to it later if you want to try to solo it, right? I am an elitist, yes. That's not a secret. Mino said you can say that in person, so... I'm trying to throw it over to Rez because she hasn't talked recently.
Me too. I'm trying to pass it to Rez. But sorry, Rez. Before I set you up, I don't think we have time this episode. Maybe next episode, but I had a list of frequently asked questions that newbies have for entropy and to address it. And this list is like 10 plus questions. But for the sake of saving time, I'm going to eliminate all that and just reference the most important thing right here. The most important thing this episode is that Ink said he had to play for 4+ months before he hit endgame. Guys, I was hitting endgame day 1. So, Tonberry Troupe, this is the competition. Like TCC versus Tonberry Troupe. TCC, like I'm pretty sure me and Mark have been hitting that end game since day one.
Yeah.
And Tonberry Troupe is coming in
Squall
4
event
months to prep for end game. Like
Squall event.
That's
level
really...
Squall level 50. Remember that?
I know, like
Vanille.
I mean.
No, we didn't clear that.
As soon as EXs are coming out, come on, but no, it's Rez's turn. Rez, tell us, as when you started, what was your journey to endgame? Because you didn't start day 1, right? So you can.
Yes, I did start day 1. I take offense to that. I did start day 1.
Oh wow, I'm sorry. That's really sad.
I'm
just kidding.
Mino. It's sad of Mino.
I'm just kidding. But Rez, please tell us about your experience and road to endgame.
Oh my god. I honestly didn't. I'm a day 1 player, but I didn't start taking the game seriously until like October of that same year when I got Noctis EX off like a free pull or something, and then I started taking the game seriously. But still, for so long, there was so much content that I hadn't cleared because I was keeping them as like emergency stockpiles, and for like that's why I still hadn't cleared chapters 3 and 4. And even hard mode for a few of them. Like literally, I cleared 3 hard mode chapters specifically to scrounge up tickets to pull for Aphmau a few weeks ago. But anyway, it took me a long time to actually sit down and do Dimensions, and it took me a long time to sit down and do Pathos, just because I'm lazy. I just like now I have a lot more fun trying to come up with these teams and stuff. But toward when DE first came out, I was just like I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to keep doing this. I didn't have even though I've been a day 1 player, it wasn't until like probably that I started making content that I really started thinking more creatively about things and started thinking about, okay, this is how this team can work. Kind of like Ink was saying, like it's like a puzzle, and you're going to get really burnt out. You're going to get really frustrated if you try fitting a puzzle piece in, a puzzle that it doesn't belong, kind of like a circle peg into a square hole or whatever it is. So that was and then I finally sat down one day. I was just like, all right, I have nothing to do tonight. And I just burned through tiers 4 through 8 of DE in one night. And after that, I was like, wow, it would be silly of me to not do these upon release. And I'm also really sick of not having max rank and max plate, which is also why I was never at max rank until like a month ago or something. So that was my road to endgame. But now, like people are saying, and even Lids just said in chat a little while ago, he was saying, by the time we get to tier 20, you're going to have an overabundance of characters to use. And I think OO tracker is amazing, and looking at it, I'm like, wow, I have way too many characters. I feel like if anything, I'm holding back from using certain characters because I don't want to have to redo I don't want to have to redo tiers once these characters get a rework. Like I still haven't used Tara in a DE because she's gonna get her burst eventually. I hope she needs to, and I plan on using her.
It's gonna be a good burst, Rez, because look, the best characters always come out in the middle of a tuning pass. If you're the first wave to come out, the first wave of EXs, the first wave of LDBTs, you get power crept hard. And if you're the last in the wave, then you're never relevant. Like Kayn and Rydia, right? They're the last EX. Oh, Rydia's like the last EX, so she never saw any play in Chaos, and now she's like the last EX plus, and nobody gives a shit. She's not going to see any play in Lufania, right? So if you're first wave or last wave, first third or last third of the tuning pass, you're fucked. But if you come out in the middle, like like Vayne or Leo come out in the middle of EX pluses, or like Renoa, who comes out in the middle of EX. If Tara comes out in the middle of bursts, she is set. So
I hope so. I hope they do her justice, and she had better be trans Tara.
Right. So Tara, you are so lucky that you weren't one of the first 5 bursts to release like Shantoto.
I'm gonna be using Squall Burst into Lufania, so you shut your mouth. Mino.
So the middle third, that's when you want your tuning pass to come.
So we can only hope that she doesn't end up towards the end. But
you better hope she comes out in the next 2 or 3 months.
A couple months.
She'd honestly, she'd really better. But yeah, I don't have any desire to go back and redo tiers. So I'm just gonna try and go as long as I can without having to redo any DE tiers.
Right.
So here, here's the other thing. In the last 2 months, I have access to 14 realizable characters. I have purpled 11 of them. Now, in the last 2 months, we've only had 2 Dimensions End tiers, so that's 3. But there are 14 characters that I can use readily in Dimensions End, who I could go back and just destroy early tiers with. I mean, you're like Eald'narche and Cloud of Darkness and Kais, couldn't just rip through certain tiers of Dimensions End. So even if you are a newer player, when you start stockpiling these characters, and then when you start adding characters with LDs into the mix and start pulling on banners with 3 EXs, an LD, and a BT, you may lose a book and an Ignite now, but what you're going to gain moving forward, like pulling just to get these limited time rewards. I mean, that's what Squex wants you to do, right? They want you to use all your resources before LDBT. And I if Joshua's here, great. Squex is super generous. This is, I think, the most friendly, free-to-play gotcha game in existence. They aren't nearly as evil as they could be, because I think I've said if Mino and I were running this company, we'd do a lot more terrible things to try to get people's money.
You guys are fucking lucky.
So let me just say, what I'm about to say, just caveated with, I think Defo is the most wonderful gotcha game in existence, and I love it. That's why I do a podcast for it every week and tell you should buy their costumes even though they're not paying me any money. That being said, their goal is to get you with all of these hyped characters and these limited time rewards to get you to spend your resources so that you go into LDBT without resources, so that with weapons that are even harder to get, cost even more to pity, and have, a lot more value, so that you're going to want to then spend money to have more resources to pull on those banners, right? That's how these games make money. And so, those limited time rewards are always tempting. But yeah, if you're talking 1 or 2 books and a couple Iggies, just play the game. Do as much as you can and don't worry about it, right? Don't kill yourself trying to solo content just so you can get an extra book. It's just not worth it. Now, if you can do it, give it a couple tries. And hey, if you do it, great. You might luck out and do it. Or you might be good enough and you can do it, or the character might be good enough at what they're doing. I mean, hey, Gallup's pretty good if you have him fully kitted. That's the other thing we didn't say. We've watched a lot of streams this week with people bringing non-fully kitted in terms of they don't have their 1535, and people who have bring non-boarded characters into Dimensions End Entropy. Dimensions End Entropy is the endgame material in Defo. Board your characters, have all their weapons, MLB. I mean, that's what you build up to bring them to this. So, if you're bringing 3 characters without fully summon boarded, they might not do very well. I mean, really, we have we're going on our 8th summoning board right now. That's a lot of stats. I mean, it makes a huge difference.
550 attack. That's more
the
than
HP.
weapon.
The HP is the biggest thing because like tier 2 was so difficult when it came out because the Kefka boss could one-shot you, and now it can't even come close. The HP creep is real. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, guys, I ran double synergy for Eald'narche Chaos, and I wiped because Eald'narche has 6k HP, and then magically after I did boards, he had 13k HP. It wasn't even fair. These boards are so necessary. It's not even fair. If you have a 70-70 character, MLB, he can still be one-shot by current Chaos bosses if you don't do any boards. It's bullshit.
I'm glad I stopped doing timestamps for this episode because I have no idea what we're talking about.
I don't even
speaking of summoning boards, since we have you on, Rez, what's your summoning board strategy? Since we won't have you on next week to talk about Alexander, are you somebody who masters everything or just gets treasures, or kind of what's your summon board strategy while we have you on?
Yeah, I mean, at first I used to do, the method of having a synergy character and then a carry and then somebody that I was maxing. But now there are so many units that I want to max that it's a little bit that tactic only lasts for a certain amount of time. I usually end up delaying it as long as possible because I hate grinding when I don't have the books up, but I also it's much better with the 15-minute ones because I would just be like, oh, I'm not going to actually do this for 30 minutes, and then 30 minutes later I end up doing nothing. But yeah, that's my method. I try to max everybody I can. Once I get enough wild points, I just use those to get the treasure nodes for the ones that are left so that I can actually max. I hate having to switch out characters in between, so trying to set up those teams beforehand, but it's really annoying to have to switch them out every so often. And I believe with Alexander it takes 2,000 points for the treasure nodes. Oh man, that's really
don't
annoying.
even bother swapping. Just max the characters you want to max and use your wild points on the reward only characters because I did say that I was going to give math. Well, very brief math. So
guys,
I'm just going to say it.
This is why we don't all drink at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a decent amount of whiskey, but I'll just say, right, the difference, if you use 3,000 gold tokens on all cater arts, right, 3,000 tokens, and you use all of them to refine as many cater artifacts as possible, you have a 20% chance of getting the artifact you want. Not necessarily the buffed attack and charge triple slip. You might get buffed attack in 108. You might get any of them. Any combination of her arts is a 20% chance. That's versus a 30% chance. And that may not sound like a lot, but when you're refining, let's say, like for Leo, for example, when I was doing Leo arts, and Leo's not a cursed character, so I was doing 30% odds at each go of 100 artifact fusions. I used 17,000 gold tokens to get what I wanted. And even then, I didn't even get all 5 that I wanted. I got 3 of the ones that I wanted. And that was on a non-cursed character. I used 17,000. So using 3,000 is 20% to get what you want. You may get super lucky and you'll be great, but having that lowered to 20% for these characters is certainly rough. It's
cursed.
Yes, that's why they're called cursed.
Yeah.
It is. But at least if you just want, if all you want is 3 buffed attacks on Cater, and that's all you care about because you want to use Cater, she's a one of your favorite characters and you want to use her. That's serious though.
Characters Cater.
If you want that, just to get 3 buffed attacks on Cater, just 3 buffed attacks, and that's it. Doing 10 artifact fusions, you have a 20% chance. Just 10 artifact fusions, that's it. And you have a 20% chance to get her best artifact, the singular best artifact, get 3 copies of it, or get 1 copy of it. That is not bad. So at least that's why I say don't worry about cater solos. It's more for like you to say, "Ooh, yay, I did this." But again, you're leaving your car to rust in the middle of the ocean. Just if you pull cater and you find her fun to use, and I do think she's a fun character to use. Just get the triple buffed attack, please. Like, don't get so hung up and don't get frustrated chasing the charge triple slip because you want to solo a tier. I have like 17 3/3s on my bench. And I know I've obviously been playing since the beginning of EX Plus, right? But either way, there's absolutely no reason. There is minimal gain from soloing with cater. So don't get super frustrated about it. Get the 3x buffed attack and use cater on a proper team, and she will do great for you. By the way, she has a duo on Kurasame Lufenia with 8. 8 and cater both counter, and that's after 8 gets an upgrade. Safina literally duo to Lufenia with cater in her current state in GL. Obviously, she had all of her boards and everything like that, but she's a great character if you want her. There's no reason you need her, but if you find her a fun character because she's got her bag and she tells like almost a story when you use her EX. She talks a lot. So if you're entertained by that, enjoy. But yeah, I just urge people not to get frustrated chasing perfect artifacts with her. Just get the triple buffed attack.
Yeah, and one last thing, just to fuck with Mark's timestamping and to make it even worse.
I'm not doing it, so don't worry about it.
Just to make sure it's even more impossible for you, I'm gonna.
I already got to edit. I already got to edit the hell out of this episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's
gonna be 900 gigabytes.
I'm gonna double back like 5 times just so it's impossible to timestamp this. First of all, Rez, thank you for sharing your experience getting up to entropy and getting up to endgame. Like that, a lot of people in chat agreed with you that it took them a long time. Even day 1 players said it took them a while to even like work up the courage to hit EX battles and then chaos battles. A lot of it seems like the typical player doesn't challenge these endgame difficulties right when they launch, right? They wait for the beefier roster, which is more reasonable and more understandable. To hammer in what Mark said at another time, here's another time jump. The Kriese wanted me to stress that the limited time entropy rewards are a trap. For sure. A trap for new players, 100%. They exist to reward veterans, as they should, and that is fine, because there has to be some incentive to be playing this game long term. Otherwise, you can just re-roll whenever the new power creep comes and you're set. So they're here primarily to reward veterans and to pressure new players into pulling. There's so many new players scrambling for this, or players who have never really tackled chaos and now tackling entropy, and they're investing for what? For 5 more books, 5 more ingots, and 30k gems? Like, if you do the math, ask yourself if you're spending more than that to get that, and if it's a net loss overall. Okay, if you're investing more than 5 books, 5 ingots, and 30k gems to even get the rewards, then you're getting tricked. Stop pulling, stop investing. Like, there's so many players who started like 2-3 weeks ago. I've seen streams of trying to get these entropy rewards, and honestly, it's just not for you. You're better off in the long run by ignoring these and playing regularly. Inc has already stated all the permanent rewards. The permanent rewards are way more substantial than these temporary ones. It's okay to let this shit go. Okay? It's like if you sign up for a new gacha, and tons of gachas do this, and they're like, hey, day 1, 24-hour offer. If you pay $50 now, you get a big boost. You only have 24 hours to think. Most people aren't going to fall for that shit, but I guess DFFOO is clever enough to, camouflage it enough that it is pressuring new players. Guys, do the math. Stop and think. Many new players are going to be spending more than they're gaining to get these rewards. Not worth it. Just keep playing, be a veteran, collect it the next time it's around. It's okay to miss limited time rewards.
It is okay.
Yeah.
But
it took me a long time to come to terms with that.
Well, we're all going to have to come to terms with that in challenge events, which is something that we could have talked about tonight, but we don't have time for questions. We didn't have time for questions an hour ago. But it's been wonderful. It's been fun. I'm so glad we've been able to do this tonight. That being said, hey, don't stress out about limited time rewards. Don't worry about investing just to get back limited returns, but make sure you buy that Kane and Garnet costume and tell Quetz Joshua Mark sent you. I'm still trying to build up some good credit. I may have gotten in trouble for all of my data mining. I didn't even spoil Cater, so lay off, Josh. I'm joking. All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. There's a lot of people to thank. But before we do, let's look ahead, if I can find my outline, to what's happening in the future of Defo. We have Ultimate Alexander, which brings us Zaz rework, Rage, and rework their EX and EX realizations on the 12th, Charlotta LC on the 19th, Summer Incursion Part 3 on the 19th, as well as RNA, a rerun event, Commodore of the Skies on the 23rd. Secret character event, Hawkeye, Green Arrow, The Power of Knowledge with Quistis's rework and EX realization, and then likely the next Squex community stream will be the last Monday of the month, followed very quickly by LDBT era. All right. Yeah. So thank you all for joining. Remember, you can check out us, tccpodcast.com, for all of our links, join our Discord, all that jazz. Inkwelder, how can we connect with you? And is there anything you want to share about what you're doing?
Find us at www.tonberrytroupe.com. We are working on a gorgeous, holy crap, it's gorgeous, LDBT infographic to help people understand sort of what's going on in the entire era. So look out for that coming soon. Alexander infographic will drop tomorrow. Please fully board your Kane. Kane, even with a garbage 15 CP, I just got Sid's 15 CP on my off banner 111 on this free pull. Give him anything with full boards and he just rips through content for you. So as a new player, please fully board your Kane, even if you don't have weapons for him. But yeah, that'll come out tomorrow. And then Saz and Raijin infographics are after that. So enjoy, people.
Thank you very much. Now, Rez, how can we get in hold of you and what are you got coming up that you want to share tonight?
Yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube, just Resphoina, RESPHOINA. I'm also on Twitch. twitch.tv/Resphoina. And then just one thing that I wanted to call out with that we mentioned at the beginning of the show, but only because I think you guys will appreciate it and I'm very proud of it, is a music collab that I did with my good friend Jeff Plays Guitar, who does Final Fantasy arrangements, music arrangements that he releases every week. We did a collab orchestral arrangement of Terra's theme that you can find on Jeff's channel. And then on my channel, there's kind of a behind the scenes kind of structural breakdown of the song, but I'm very, very excited about it. So that's the only thing that I want to really plug.
It is excellent, and you should all check it out and check out the behind the scenes video. It's really fun to see that. So yeah, thank you all. I won't shout out everybody else, but thank you all. There's a big team that makes this possible, and none of them are Squex employees. So I might as well just piss everybody off tonight. Mino's been doing some extra streams and getting folks like Black Cloud and Dreamy, Vayne, Novus, Teleute, some other folks too. I'm trying to, if there's anybody else who's been jumping on those, some fun things. So make sure you subscribe, like, follow our Twitch, and check out, of course, our social media and our Discord as well. Hey, this has been episode 110 and probably 111 at this point of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded June, what freaking month is it? Recorded July 9th here in these United States, 2020. This has been Mark, Mino, Inkwelder, and Resphoina, wishing you all the best of luck, not only for your cater pulls, but for your cater arts and for your D13 solo. Until episode 111, we'll see you. Goodbye.